All right. So let me make something clear, y'all. I'm not doing this show to act like I'm living a life that I'm not living. Okay. I'm not here to be like, this is how you can get your money. This is how you can be wealthy. No, 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 no. We are here on this show, B314, Bad Bitchcraft Radio. We are here to crack the codes, not just crack them, but understand in full universal laws. We are here to fully understand the Creator's code. We are here to manifest prosperity, abundance, and wealth on so many levels. Whether that's a home, whether that is to beautify the home that you're in and decorate it better than you have or care for it better, whether that's to get up to whatever we have, we're utilizing it to go up to whatever frequency that we're getting to. We're doing success studies to align ourselves to the frequency of the life that we want, the life that we have to act as in order to manifest it. We are getting ourselves to the frequency of truly understanding what is money and what is the laws of handling money. We are getting ourselves to a frequency of God body and God mind, of success, all of these things. That's all I'm doing. And you can utilize it for however you want to, whatever it is. And every day that I get on this microphone, and I mean this, I put it in the universe because I have a green candle. I have not lit it yet. I pulled it out on my birthday, and I have not lit it. And every birthday time, I always do a ritual for myself. But this time around, I just kind of just chilled and had a good time, and just kind of just got away from my project for a little bit. And I started noticing something about myself, doing my self-assessments and stuff like that. And let me tell you something. Every day I go on this microphone, I always want people who will utilize this information to come to the show. I always want people who will skip through. And, I always tell you if I'm going to chit chat, if I'm going to talk, who will actually sit down and listen to the audiobooks, write, pause, whatever. Take advantage. I always want people who will actually follow along and listen while I pause and all this stuff and just kind of, you understand, utilize something from everything that I do here. And I put in the universe that every time I get on this microphone, it has a purpose, that whatever I talk about has purpose. It has a point, is a reason. Like every single time I get up on this microphone, it's not for frivolous shit. Yesterday, I saw breaking news, right? And the breaking news was that Bad Bunny performed at the Super Bowl, and the breaking news was that what was the breaking news? Something about, remember I told y'all about the people being naked and being dragged out the house with the kids, and I was like, I don't know how legit this is, but let me go see, right? And I talked about it. And I watched that video. I actually watched it kind of twice. I watched it, And then I had the Bad Bunny inside the search section. And when I go on this microphone, I started talking about something else. I mentioned it, but I never played it. I went somewhere else on this microphone. Because that's how much purpose it holds. I still stick to the name V314 Bad Bitchcraft Radio. I still stick to this name. And I have, you always say like the Deep Regret Show and all that stuff. When I take whatever I'm doing serious with this, I'll know what the fuck I want to do. Okay? Until then, it's working like this. I don't come into this for popularity. I really don't. But eventually I'm going to have to make a decision of what I fully want to do when it comes to this show. Because I've been doing this for a very long motherfucking time. Okay? Long time. Now, we're learning the Creator's code. We're teaching ourselves the Creator's code. And we're making the Creator's code applicable to our lives. And we resonate with who we resonate with. And you know, there's some people I resonate with and I don't, and I send them on their way. And there's some people that I really resonate with, and I'll be like, no, we gotta keep this going. We gotta keep talking about this. We gotta let this keep playing. Let's talk about this. What stood out to me was something. And what stood out to me was I noticed that people who are wealthy that do these interviews, they talk, but there's something underlying, something beneath when they talk. And it always feels like she's not saying everything. He's not saying everything. He's saying just enough for everybody to get it, but they're not really telling what it is on this wealth shit. Because people are not going to understand it. People are not going to get it. I can feel it. And let me tell you, when you have these inclinings of little feelings like that, little inclinings of feelings like that, you're going to find out, right? You're going to find out, right? That you're going to find an answer. Even the little things in the back of your head, you're going to find an answer. Today, when I left from what I was just doing, handling business, I said, you know what? I let it go. I said, I let it go. I'm not stressing it. Let me just go. So I started recognizing the energy that was going on around me. Somebody was like, come on, just come on over here. And I was like, nah, let me see what they're going to do with me. I just bounced. I said, let me just go. And after I did it, I started watching my mindset, right? Learning to be more grateful. Learning to say thank you. Like learning to just focus on what I want. You know what I'm saying? Not in a vulture-like way, but just be focused on what I want. You know what I'm saying? And whatever. So therefore, there's levels to this shit. There's rules to this shit. There's tests to this shit. And the biggest test, because I was once told that money is the biggest test. Money is the biggest test. Money is the test. You gotta pass your test. But how do we pass our test? We pay attention in class, which is life. We pay attention to our lessons, right? For the whole school year, time, semester, right? Week. Sometimes we learn the lesson every week, right? Got to pay attention. And so when you're getting tested, you still got to learn. You still got to read, practice, do the homework, right? So many people hate homework. I think that's so funny. Some people hate homework, but you got to do the homework. You got to put it into practice. That's what homework is about. And so when we are talking about money frequency, I was going to put wealth, but I was like, nah, I'm put money. Money is easier. So when we're talking about the money frequency, there's laws to this shit. She said, money is a spiritual being in a physical form. I said, damn, that's what the fuck we are. We're physical beings. We're spiritual beings, spiritual beings in this vessel, in this physical form. So we are the money. And so when you're sitting here and you're naming your money, because we're going to play that again. And I'm showing this lady because this lady is like wealthy and a lot of people interview her and stuff. When we name our money, we're tapping into a power. And we're building a relationship with money. We're tapping into a spiritual power, a spiritual intelligence. Do you think Rachel Sierra would actually get on that camera and tell people to do this? No, she will not. The fact that I found that If I would have found that without y'all here with me, I don't think I would be talking about it. I'm not gonna hold you. I don't think it's because y'all were right here with me when I did this. If you are here with me when I did that, I don't think I would have been talking about it. Because there's some things that you can't talk about. And see, that's the thing. You learn the art of secrecy as you get into this frequency. And see, you're naming the frequency too. Remember, I said this is the wealth frequency. I'm learning about wealth frequency. What am I getting from here? What do I benefit here? What am I getting from here in this space right now? What am I benefit from talking about right now? What does it benefit to put this food in my body right now? How does it benefit me? This person did this for me. I appreciate it. It's something I can do for them. Benefits. See what I'm saying? Things like that. But the thing is, sometimes I find myself where I get a ride somewhere or something, and like I told you, I can have money like that in my purse, and I won't think to give them, because that's how they operate. It's not me. There's some people I had to force myself to be like, here, to put it here. Because I feel like if I offered it, they'll say no. But when I have it in my hand, like here you go, and just pass it to them, they'll take it. But that's that person's energy. And I'm starting to look at that too. But I'm not a user or abuser. And here we go. And here we are. 11 minutes in. So just fair use. Okay, gonna listen to her again. I want to tap into something from the questions that Miss Lady is asking her, right? I want to tap in a little bit more to something. Hey.
You may have to fire them. And so it can be quite lonely to have all that wealth, because we bond with people who are like us. And when you have more than everyone else, it's hard to bond unless you really work rather like Richard Branson on connecting.
So like she's telling you, it's lonely at the motherfucking top, yo. But just let's listen a little bit more from what we have been learning about the money frequency. Let's just hear from her who has the wealth.
At a different level. So it's our beliefs about money. What do we believe?
So what are these money blocks or money beliefs? What do you think are the most common ones that you've kind of seen?
The biggest by far are, I'm not worth it, I don't deserve it, and when I have money, I'll never know who my friends are. Money makes you very lonely. We've all seen the movie of Paul Getty, Alone with His Paintings.
I've noticed this with movies that the villain, the really rich person, is always the villain.
Of course.
And we've seen this in Bollywood, right?
Of course.
In so many Bollywood movies.
Okay. Let's just look at the topics. I'm not playing this no more because I don't want to get copyrighted. First thing is changing beliefs about money. Balancing giving and receiving. We talked about that. Expanding your potential. 3 ways to create wealth. Hold on. The importance of self-worth. Because money is associated with self-worth. Daily habits for financial success. The DICCC method for healing. That is fun. Final thoughts and resources. Now let's get back to Miss Lady here. All right. Now, let's get to it. I don't even have to watch all that. Maybe we will when from the behind the scenes. I'll probably sit back and watch it. But let me say something. From being told, back to Miss Florence Scovel Shin. Okay. Money is a spiritual being in a physical form. So that means spiritual being in the physical form. That's that's something very dark. I don't even use that word, but it is dark to look into. Because if then I am writing a letter to money and apologizing to money, and that's irony, because I thought about emailing somebody in my life and clearing the air with them, and it was interesting to hear what this whole letter thing, excuse me, and said to apologize and build a relationship with money and talk to money from the name that you give your money. Even made it funny. Said if it's funny, whatever, but just Prosperity Pete, dear Prosperity Pete, whatever name, and everybody had these names. It's pretty cool, right? But to take it serious when you write this letter to money, take it serious when you apologize for how you treated money. So you have to be honest about how you treated money, who you gave money to, and all this shit. Be honest about it. Be honest with yourself in this letter. And you build a new relationship with money. Then they said the things that's going to begin to happen in your life when you do it. So this is like a release ritual. This is equivalent to a release ritual that you do with somebody in your personal life. And you think about money, right? And we see the karma that comes with money. I remember my aunt told me that she said she ripped somebody out of a lot of money one time in her life. And she said for the whole year, she had problems with money. She said her life was so fucked up, she just could not keep money after she did that to that person. And she said she never would ever do that to somebody about money again. She said, I'll never steal money. I learned to never steal money from people again. So there is laws to this shit. Let me tell you, that same aunt came into $500,000, ended up back on drugs, ended up having a stroke. See, money is you know how many years she waited for that motherfucking money? You know how many years she waited for that motherfucking money? Okay. Yeah, exactly. So money does have laws and rules. Because I have noticed when you give certain people money, right? It fucks you up from getting money again. You have to be careful who you let borrow money, who you give money to. See, I admit I borrow money before for important shit. If I ever called this one person in my life, I said, man, I hate calling you like this, bro, but I really fucking need you. I said, I really fucking need you. And they can feel that I don't ask for a handout, that I'm not a scammer. They give me what I ask for. Okay. And then after that, I always pay them back every motherfucking time. Every time they get paid back. I even make a money agreement with them. They get paid back every time. Okay. Want to also say, money is supposed to be handled a certain way. I also peep that. We are supposed to handle our money. We ain't supposed to have our money all balled up, thrown to the side. Our money's supposed to be put together and handled well. When we have change, you're supposed to put it inside. I remember with Bay, she went and got this container, this cute little container, and all the change that I was giving her, all the pennies, because I admit I just something about pennies. I don't like pennies. And so I would throw the pennies away. I always toss the pennies away. And I might start changing that mentality, but She just started collecting all those pennies and all that change that I would put to the side in her car, right? Sometimes I had leftover change and I would leave it in her car. And all that money began to accumulate over time. And she started putting that money inside of this container. And so she showed me, I didn't even know she did this. And I was like, oh shit, oh, okay. That's all I left there. Okay. But I started noticing that you have to be very careful, because you can be somebody's money magnet. See, your energy of money can go into somebody else. Somebody once told me that. She said, my friend just walked in here and gave me money. That has never happened. He just gave me a stack of money. So you gotta know what you're worth, because you don't want nobody else to see that shit on you, because she didn't have to say that. See what I'm saying? But she told me that. She's like, you're a money magnet. And so all of these type of things, right? You have to, right? Before we get into the video, because just let me finish this thought. You have to understand that there is laws, there's financial laws. And you can't deny it, because you know it yourself. If you get too far in debt, what happens? Right? If you worry about a bill, what happens? Sometimes you worry about it so much, shit just shut off before it's time. If you talk about money, your check goes short. Right? If you're around people who are schemers and scammers, your check will be short and you just don't know why. If you do crooked shit like steal from people, it's like you see what's stolen from you if you pay attention. All of these things are part of the laws of money. Let me tell y'all something. I don't talk about this, but I'm going to tell this story. You know, I help Bay out, and I send her some money, right? And the money I sent her was enough money for her to, one, pay off her ticket, and two, probably be able to pay something off. Whatever it was to pay something off, right? And I remember this day, because I was like, look, I need a break for a little while. And I noticed that too. When I come into a certain amount of money, I get away from everybody. I distance myself. I'll turn the phone off. I don't want to be bothered when I have money. I started to notice that about myself since my 30s, that I was like this. I said, look, I'm gonna toss you this. I mean, you take care. Just let me have my break for a minute. I'll get back to you. Tossed her the money. She don't do nigga technology, Cash App. So she gave me a name to give the money to. Don't get me wrong. I said, well, why are you giving this to the son of your friend, right? Why are you doing that? Why didn't you just, your sister? Why didn't you choose your sister, right? Why didn't you choose, your mom? I'm looking at this for me to give this money to, right? So guess what? I gave her money, and the money I gave her, right? I said, yo, just, whatever. She didn't really know how much. She didn't even ask me. Check this out. She didn't even ask me. So the money she got, she sent that off to them for weed, right? For weed, okay? Now, she gets her weed and she gets played. First of all, she was shocked. When she saw how much I was giving her, she was like, oh shit, it was too late. It was too late. Do you know, after I gave that money, I blocked that account. I literally blocked them right after. Just blocked them after I gave that money. Now, I know that probably sounds strange to y'all, but just follow along. And she got played for that weed. She got fucking played. I mean, something awful played. I was like, ooh. And I didn't want to fuck with her friend after that. That I didn't want to talk to her, but it wasn't about that. It wasn't about that. It was deeper than that. See, that's why I say money is truly an entity. It really is. And so her family got involved. She ended up telling her mom and her sister, her stepdad, she ended up telling her family. And they were livid. And they was like, next time that ever happened, you give it to me. And the sister was like, the family was like, next time you give it to me. That's so fucked up what she did, right? Because the universe was trying to tell her who the fuck this person was, right? And that was done through me, right? Now, let's go forward in time, which is in the now. That motherfucking friend is in a very fucked up situation right now involving something with her money. And guess what? That system that helps you pay for your bill. Yeah, the motherfuckers ain't pay nothing. They ain't pay nothing to her. You see, do you see how it works? Now, I didn't put no energy out there for anything towards her. I promise you that. I was more so looking at Bay. I was like, are you going to start seeing who this bitch is? Are you going to start opening your eyes? Because it's not my job to try to make her see. But I was just sitting back like, why did you even tell me? Because you didn't have to tell me, but you felt so guilty. You knew it was so fucked up. And you also know how I am about my money that you had to. It's like, damn near you were apologizing to me when that's not how it's supposed to go. And let me tell you something. It all hit me later. I wasn't surprised that happened to that person, because you can't dog people about money. You can't. You got to understand, and I'm gonna stand on this shit. There is laws to money. There's a financial frequency law. There's a creator's code to money. There's a creator's code to money. So, money follows spiritual laws. I like that title. You don't have to do anything as long as you're being honest with yourself. Because there are people where things happen to them and they be like, yeah, because I did this. They feel it because I did this. And that's why that happened to me. They forgive themselves and they learn their lesson and they don't do it again. They know that's the wrong answer on the test. Study a little more, grow up, focus in, focus up, won't do it no more, right? So when that person was in that situation, I don't know how to tell y'all this, but I felt it. I said, they're gonna be in this situation a long time. It ain't gonna cut out for them the way they think it is. It ain't how they thought it was gonna be. When you could just get your ass up and get back going. No. They about to get a rude awakening, right? And I hate to, like, I don't like thinking like that. I don't, but that's what my body felt. And I feel her behavior was out of pure selfishness, not caring, and a little bit, and some spiteful. I felt it when it happened. And I felt like the person even was happy they did it to me. And see, this is what I'm trying to say. But there's something else that I'm starting to learn too. It's about who I'm around, who I associate with. Because I started to realize too, person I'm with, that's their cash flow. I listen to a lot that they tell me. I won't repeat it here. I said, oh, you have been their money for a long time. That's why she keeps her claws into you. That's why she always has you around and dangles you with this and dangles you with that. But she ain't nobody motherfucking friend. That's a leech right there. That's a user right there. And this is why people who are in these situations, this is the personality that comes with them. And I understand why people who are wealthy, have money, financially very stable and well off, and they work hard for what they have, stay the fuck away from people who are like this. They stay away. They can see it. This is a user. This is a vulture. This is a stalker. This is someone who's trying to destiny swap and shit. That's why everything comes with a price, literally. All right, so I just wanted to show that title, but you know I like to do shows like this because that's the indication that any of you who don't know, if you ever see me like this, that means I'm going to talk right here. Most of the time that means that I'm presenting it, but if you see me on the side, that always means that I'm going to talk. All right, so without further ado, let's continue this. Should we just start it over? This thing is an hour, but let's go ahead.
Rather than a desperate chase for external solutions, you begin treating wealth creation as sacred work, approaching these divine laws with the same reverence and consistency you would any spiritual discipline. Write in the comments, divine obedience, if you're ready to approach wealth building as a spiritual practice rather than a worldly struggle. Now, this brings us to a revelation that completely dismantles one of the most destructive beliefs embedded in our culture. The false notion that poverty is somehow pious or that struggling financially makes you more spiritual. This couldn't be further from the truth. Poverty is not a virtue, scarcity is not sacred, and financial lack does not bring you closer to divine purpose. In fact, the opposite is true. You are meant to prosper because you are a vessel of divine identity, and lack contradicts your true spiritual nature. Think about this transformation in perspective when you're constantly worried about bills, stressed about money, or exhausted from financial pressure. How much energy do you have left for spiritual growth, serving others, or fulfilling your higher purpose? Financial stress doesn't purify the soul, it distracts it from its true calling. The hidden truth behind authentic spiritual teaching is that your outer world reflects your inner condition. When your soul begins to prosper through spoken word, obedience to divine principles, and genuine expectation of good, money, and opportunities begin responding to you with the same natural inevitability that waves respond to the gravitational pull of the moon. This is where the real transformation happens, not through grinding harder or applying more external strategies, but through cultivating internal prosperity first. Your soul's expansion creates the energetic foundation that draws material abundance effortlessly into your experience. It's not about deserving more money. It's about becoming the kind of person whose inner richness naturally magnetizes outer wealth. Behind the scenes of every lasting financial breakthrough is this same principle operating. Someone aligned their inner prosperity with their outer circumstances, and the universe responded by rearranging physical reality to match their spiritual condition. The journey becomes about nurturing your soul's prosperity through conscious decisions about what you speak, what you expect, and how consistently you align with divine principles. The impact of this understanding shifts everything because you stop trying to manipulate external circumstances and start focusing on the internal transformation that makes abundance inevitable. You realize that your bank account is simply reflecting back to you the level of prosperity your soul has achieved through spiritual practice. The revelations within this principle explain why some people can lose everything and rebuild quickly, while others struggle for decades despite having all the right opportunities and resources. This understanding leads us to a crucial distinction that separates those who experience financial breakthroughs from those who remain trapped in intellectual understanding without results. These 7 divine laws are not meant for endless analysis, debate, or philosophical discussion. They're designed for immediate, practical application through spoken word, repeated practice, and complete embodiment until your subconscious mind accepts them as absolute truth. Most people approach spiritual principles like academic subjects. They study them, discuss them, analyze their implications, and try to understand every nuance before taking action. But divine law doesn't respond to intellectual comprehension. It responds to vibrational embodiment. You could spend years studying these principles without experiencing any transformation in your financial reality if you're not actively speaking them, practicing them, and living them daily. The hidden truth behind lasting wealth creation is that these principles function as spiritual frequencies that you must become.
All right, so this is going to be one of those things where I got to do this. Hold on, y'all. Let me see some. How much money y'all got? Yeah. Do I really want this music though? I gotta upgrade my plan if I want music. But shit, I got other music I can motherfucking play. Hold on, y'all. So we gonna make this the chat room. Hold on, y'all. Damn, I forgot how to get the damn chat room up here. Is it this one? Oh, here we go. All right, so we're gonna do these universal laws. I'm gonna type them over here. All right. You know what? I got some J Dilla. Hold on. Let me see if I can find my thing. Oh shit. I got so much tab. Hold on. I'm going to my music. Ozzy. I got beats in here. Jeff. Okay, that's the give me a minute. This one sounds a little bit close to J Dilla. I think I'm still in the garage band. It shouldn't just be fucking garage band though. It just should be music. I don't even see it. I see the old song introduction. I actually don't mind the lo-fi, but sometimes I want other things. Let me just see this one right here. Let's see what's going to happen if I upload this joint. Give me a minute, y'all. We are like 40 minutes into the show. Let me just see what this shit is. Hold on. Oh, thank you. Okay. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead. I'm going to more than likely type in the chat room. Actually go to the laws. Let's make this shit happen.
Rather than tools you occasionally pick up and use, You don't dabble in frequency. You either embody it completely or you remain outside its influence. It's like trying to tune into a radio station by thinking about the frequency instead of actually adjusting your receiver to match it. This transformation requires a complete shift from knowing about abundance to becoming abundance itself. When you truly embody these frequencies, you stop trying to attract money and start naturally emanating the vibration that money recognizes and responds to. The journey becomes about aligning your entire being, your thoughts, words, expectations, and daily actions with the frequency of prosperity. Behind the scenes of every financial miracle is someone who stopped analyzing spiritual principles and started living them. They made the conscious decision to embody these frequencies so completely that their outer world had no choice but to rearrange itself to match their inner vibration. The impact of this approach is immediate and profound because your subconscious mind only accepts what you repeatedly demonstrate. Through consistent action and spoken word, reading about abundance principles once or twice has minimal effect, but speaking them daily, practicing them consistently, and embodying them completely rewrites your internal programming at the deepest level. The revelations that come through embodiment rather than analysis create lasting transformation because you're not just changing your thinking, you're changing your entire energetic signature. Write in the comments, embodiment over analysis. If A, you're ready to stop studying wealth principles and start living them completely. Now, let me reveal the first divine law that will fundamentally transform how you approach every conversation, every internal dialogue, and every casual comment you make throughout your day. The law of the word operates on a principle that most people never grasp. Every single word you speak creates a spiritual mold into which divine substance is automatically poured. Think about this revelation for a moment. Your words aren't just sounds that disappear into the air. They're creative forces that literally shape the substance of your life experience. When you speak from fear, doubt, or limitation,
The words you speak are creative forces put out into the air. All right? Yes.
you're creating scarcity molds that the universe fills with matching experiences. When you speak from faith, expectation, and abundance, you're creating supply molds that attract prosperity into your reality. The hidden truth behind this
Speak from faith, expectations, and abundance.
process is that the spiritual world operates with recording precision. It listens constantly to every word you speak and multiplies what it hears without questioning the wisdom, truth, or consequences of your statements. The universe doesn't filter your words through logic or protect you from poor choices. It simply responds to your vibrational instruction with mathematical accuracy. This means when you casually say, "I'm always behind on my bills," you're giving the universe a direct order to create more situations where you're behind. When you joke, "I'm so broke," you're programming your reality for continued financial lack. But here's where the transformation happens. When you consciously declare, "I'm abundantly provided for," you're literally molding your future experiences around that frequency. The impact of understanding this law changes everything, because you realize your mouth isn't just for communication. It's your primary tool for reality creation.
Woo. Your mouth is not just for communication. It's your primary tool for reality creation. Now that's dope. I swear. Put this on a motherfucking t-shirt. Put this on a motherfucking t-shirt.
Behind the scenes of every financial struggle is unconscious negative programming delivered through careless speech patterns that most people repeat thousands of times without awareness. The journey toward financial transformation begins the moment you take complete responsibility for every word that comes out of your mouth. You stop treating conversation as casual commentary and start approaching it as...
Listen, I don't like to jump in and be like, didn't I say that? I don't like doing that. I really don't. But it's confirmation to me because I said, what am I having this conversation with you about this for? Why am I having a conversation with you about the percentage that Kylie Jenner redid with her contract? She pulled the contract because she was requesting, because this company was taking this percentage of her work. Why am I having a conversation with you, but when you want to talk about how many kids you got and this and that, and this ain't working. I'm wasting my breath and I'm wasting my time. And that is the very thing I start learning in the wealth frequency. Who am I talking to? What am I talking to them about? And why do I feel the need to talk to this person about this? What am I getting out of this?
Sacred creation work. You begin speaking intentionally rather than reactively, understanding that your words are literally building your tomorrow's experiences. The revelations that come through conscious application of this law are immediate and undeniable because you start witnessing how your deliberate word choices create corresponding shifts in your external circumstances. Write in the comments, "My words create my world," if you're ready to transform your relationship with language and begin speaking your abundance into existence. This brings us to a profound shift in perspective that most people never make in their entire lifetime. Your mouth was never designed to function as a thermometer that simply reports current conditions. It's meant to operate as a creative instrument that actively shapes and rewrites your reality with every sentence you speak. Most people spend their lives echoing their bank account balance instead of authoring their financial future through conscious word choice. Think about the conversations you've had this week. How often did you describe your current financial situation as if you were reading numbers off a screen? How frequently did you...
One thing I always say, I got to get this money. I got to get to this money. I got to make my money. I got bills to pay. I got to pay my rent. These are the things I say out loud. I got to get to this money. I got to start. I don't think nothing wrong with saying it. But I'm realizing maybe it's something else I need to start saying. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I need to start paying attention to my words a little bit more of what I be saying. Because I always say that I got to get to this money.
You complain about bills, joke about being broke, or express worry about money? Each time you did this, you were essentially programming the universe to maintain those exact conditions rather than transforming them. The hidden truth behind lasting financial transformation is that you must stop treating your mouth like a news reporter and start using it like a master architect. Instead of saying, "I can't afford that," you begin declaring, "My supply meets every demand." Instead of complaining, "Money is so tight," you start affirming, "Abundance flows easily into my life." This isn't positive thinking, it's reality engineering through conscious creation. The transformation happens when you realize that until your speech becomes sacred and intentional, your money cannot become stable. There's a direct, unbreakable connection between conscious speaking and financial stability according to spiritual law. Your words either stabilize or destabilize your financial flow based on their vibrational frequency and creative power. Behind the scenes of every person with consistent financial stability is someone who learned to guard their words like precious seeds. understanding that careless speech patterns create chaotic money patterns, while deliberate declarations create steady abundance streams. The impact of this revelation changes your entire relationship with communication because you begin approaching every conversation.
Did you hear what she said about what your words is? I'm going to go back just a little tiny bit with that one. So that's the first law, is how you talk.
Financial stability, according to spiritual law. Your words either stabilize or destabilize your financial flow based on their vibrational frequency and creative power. Behind the scenes of every person with consistent financial stability is someone who learned to guard their words like precious seeds, understanding that careless speech patterns create chaotic money patterns, while deliberate declarations create steady abundance streams. The impact of this revelation changes your entire relationship with communication because you begin approaching every conversation as an opportunity to strengthen your financial foundation. The journey towards sacred speech requires vigilance and practice because most people have decades of unconscious programming to overcome. But the moment you commit to speaking only what you want to multiply in your experience, your entire financial reality begins shifting to match your elevated word choices. The revelations that come through sacred speech extend far beyond money because you discover that every area of your life responds to the same creative principle operating through your conscious word choices. Write in the comments, sacred speech creates abundance. If you're ready to transform your mouth into a tool for financial creation.
Words, and then we're going to put the first law is sacred speech. I like the way she said something about words or your architect. I want to put that as the one for number one. Let's go.
Rather than financial reporting. Now, as powerful as conscious speech is for transforming your financial reality, there's a second divine law that works in perfect harmony with your words.
So we're going to just go ahead and put words. Okay, that's the first law is words. Number 2. I was just trying to find something she had said, but fuck it. All right, let's go.
Words to create unstoppable abundance flow. The law of circulation reveals that money is meant to move, flow.
Law of circulation. Let me go ahead and do it again. I can't hide it. First, law of words. Let's go. Law of words. 2, law of circulation. All right, so we're getting into the law of circulation. Let's go.
And circulate, never to be gripped, hoarded, or held in fear. Money is literally spirit in motion, and like all spiritual energy, it expands when released in faith and contracts when held in fear, perfectly honoring whatever vibration you emit around it. Think about this transformation in understanding. Most people treat money like a precious resource they need to protect and preserve, clutching it tightly out of fear that there won't be enough. But this approach actually works against the very nature of money itself. Spiritual. Energy cannot multiply in stagnation. It requires movement, flow, and circulation to expand and return to you amplified. The hidden truth behind why some people effortlessly attract money while others struggle to keep it is found in their relationship with circulation. Those who understand this law release money with joy, confidence, and expectation of return. They give, invest, and spend from a place of abundance, knowing that circulation creates more circulation. But those who operate from scarcity grip every dollar, second-guess every expenditure, and unconsciously teach the universe that they don't trust it to provide. When you hold money in fear or hoard it out of anxiety about the future, you're essentially sending a vibrational message to the universe that you don't trust it to return your investment. You're programming scarcity into your experience by treating abundance like a finite resource that must be conserved.
I remember one time I was at the Avenue, and this dude walked past me and said, "What you holding on to?" I don't know. Don't even ask you what happened. He said, What you're holding on to your money for? You're supposed to spend it. That's what you got it for. You're supposed to spend your money. I was like, wow. So the universe will give you these clues and keys and these laws. They're out there. You just have to be aware. You just have to have a level of seeing it. Once again, circulation. What did I say about circumnavigating with people? What am I getting out of this? What do you get from me? If you do this for me, what do you get from me? You see what I'm saying? Like, if you do this for me, what do you get from me? Oh, this is what you get. Okay. That's a law. And I said, when you hold yourself inside of the frequency, if you are a doctor or you're going to be a doctor, there's laws to being a doctor. If you're a nurse, there's going to be laws to being a nurse. If you are a writer, there's laws to being a writer. Everything has these internal universal laws that I find interesting. Yes, to writers and screenwriters, we have laws and rules, believe it or not. Some rules they say are not so, because some people have been, but there are rules that stands as a screenwriter. Shit, there are laws that stand as a screenwriter. And so all of these things all deal with a certain type of frequency. And what's important?
Rather than a flowing river that must be directed. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is someone who learned to release money with the same confidence they have in breathing, knowing that what goes out will naturally return, usually multiplied. The impact of understanding circulation completely changes your relationship with spending, giving, and investing, because you stop operating from fear of loss and start operating from expectation of return. The journey toward mastering circulation requires rewiring deep survival instincts that tell you to hoard and protect. But divine law cannot multiply abundance in an atmosphere of suspicion, anxiety, or tight-fisted control. It requires flow, movement, and the kind of confidence that comes from understanding money as cooperative spiritual energy rather than competitive material resource. The revelations that come through practicing conscious circulation extend far beyond your bank account, because you begin experiencing how all forms of energy respond to the same principle of release and return. Write in the comments, "I trust the flow," if you're ready to release the fear-based grip on money and start circulating with confidence and expectation. This understanding takes us deeper into the mechanics of conscious circulation, because it's not enough to simply release money with good intentions. Every dollar you release should be accompanied by spoken declaration of its return. This single practice transforms ordinary spending into spiritual transaction that commands multiplication and activates the circulation loop with divine precision. Most people release money silently, hoping for the best, but not actively directing its return. They pay bills, make investments, or give gifts without ever speaking over the transaction or declaring their expectation of abundance flowing back to them. But when you add conscious declaration to every financial release, you're essentially programming the universe with specific instructions about how that energy should multiply and return to your experience. The transformation happens when you realize that tithing, gifting, and investing are not merely material decisions about moving money from one account to another. They're spiritual transactions that either expand or contract your abundance pipeline based on the frequency and declaration you bring to them. When performed with proper vibrational alignment and spoken word, these activities call forth exponential return rather than loss. Think about this shift in perspective. Instead of grimacing when you pay bills, you begin declaring, "This payment activates my supply channels." Instead of reluctantly giving gifts, you joyfully proclaim, "What I release returns to me multiplied." Instead of nervously making investments, you confidently affirm, "This seed produces abundant harvest in perfect timing." The hidden truth behind why some people experience miraculous returns on their giving while others feel depleted is found in this practice of conscious declaration. Behind the scenes of every financial miracle is someone who learned to speak over every transaction, turning routine money movements into powerful spiritual activations that command the universe's cooperation. The impact of this practice is immediate because you're no longer passively hoping that your financial releases will somehow benefit you. You're actively commanding their return through the same creative power that governs all abundance flow. The journey toward mastering circulation with declaration requires developing the habit of never releasing money silently again, understanding that your words are the activating force that transforms spending into spiritual investment. The revelations that come through this practice extend beyond personal finance because you begin witnessing how conscious direction affects every form of energy exchange in your life, from relationships to business opportunities to creative endeavors. Write in the comments, "I declare abundance," if you're ready to transform every financial transaction into a conscious spiritual activation through spoken word. Now, the first two laws we've explored create the foundation for abundance flow through conscious word and circulation. But there's a third divine law that bridges the gap between spiritual principle and physical manifestation in the most profound way. The law of assumption requires that you walk, speak, breathe, and expect as if your financial demonstration is already complete, because in divine mind it already is. What delays the visible manifestation is not divine timing or external circumstances. It's your own refusal to step into the feeling of completion. This transformation in approach challenges everything most people believe about manifestation, because it requires you to live from the end result rather than working toward it. Most people operate from a vibration of striving, hoping, and waiting for their abundance to arrive. But this very frequency of expectation actually delays what you're trying to create, because you cannot manifest wealth while vibrating in a state of waiting or hoping. The hidden truth behind instantaneous financial breakthroughs is that someone collapsed the timeline and assumed the frequency of fulfillment now, living as if their supply was already released into their experience. They stopped asking, "When will my money come?" and started operating from, "My abundance is here now." They quit rehearsing lack through anxious waiting and began embodying wealth through confident assumption. Think about this shift in your own experience. When you truly assume something is already yours, you stop desperately seeking it. When you know your paycheck is coming, you don't panic about money. When you're certain about an outcome, you naturally relax into its reality. The law of assumption works the same way, but it requires you to step into that certainty before seeing physical evidence. Behind the scenes of every financial miracle is someone who made the decision to live as if their demonstration was already complete. They began making decisions from abundance rather than scarcity, speaking from fulfillment rather than lack, and expecting from certainty rather than hope. The impact of this practice is immediate because your entire energy field shifts from the vibration of seeking to the vibration of having. The journey toward mastering assumption requires releasing the need for external validation before stepping into your new financial identity. It means feeling wealthy before your bank account changes, acting abundant before opportunities appear, and expecting prosperity before circumstances shift. The revelations that come through consistent assumption practice transform not just your relationship with money, but your entire approach to creating any desired outcome in your life. Write in the comments, "It is already done," if you're ready to step into the frequency of financial completion, rather than continuing to wait for abundance to arrive. This practice of assumption isn't wishful thinking or self-deception. It's spiritual rehearsal that trains your body, breath, and cells to radiate the condition you command rather than the condition you currently experience. When you consistently assume wealth, you're literally reprogramming your nervous system, your posture, your decision-making patterns, and your energetic signature to match abundance rather than lack. Think about how this transformation works on a cellular level. When you genuinely feel wealthy, your body chemistry changes, your stress hormones decrease, your confidence increases, and you naturally begin making choices that wealthy people make. Your brain starts recognizing opportunities that were always there but invisible to your scarcity-focused awareness. This isn't positive thinking. It's biological and energetic reprogramming through conscious assumption. The hidden truth behind why assumption works. so powerfully is that your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and actual experiences. When you consistently rehearse the feeling of financial abundance, your internal guidance system begins directing you toward thoughts, actions, and opportunities that align with that assumed reality. Now, this brings us to the fourth divine law that amplifies everything we've discussed so far through a practice that most people completely misunderstand: the law of tithing. With Word reveals that tithing is not religious obligation, guilt-driven duty, or superstitious ritual. It's spiritual alignment that activates abundant flow when done with conscious declaration and specific intention. Most people approach giving from exactly the wrong frequency. They give money and hope for the best, treating tithing like a cosmic lottery ticket where they're not sure if anything will come back. But the few who understand this law give money and command return through spoken word, transforming ordinary giving into powerful spiritual activation that the universe must respond to. Behind the scenes of every person who experiences miraculous returns on their giving is someone who learned to tithe with word, not just with money. They don't give silently and hope. They give boldly and declare. They don't tithe from fear of consequence, but from confidence in cosmic law. The impact of this approach completely changes your relationship with generosity because you're no longer losing money when you give. You're investing in guaranteed multiplication. The journey toward mastering tithing with word requires understanding that your spoken declaration over every gift, donation, or tithe is what activates the return mechanism. The revelations that come through.
It's your spoken declaration over the tithe, right? So this means that, let's say you give to a foundation that supports children who have diabetes, right? It's your spoken declaration over that tithe, the purpose, we're going to get into a little bit more. I know the churches ask for tithes and offering and stuff. That's another topic for all of you who they want to do that. I say for me, I will give to something that holds a purpose. But let's just see what she's talking about. Let's go first.
Through this practice, extend far beyond financial return because you begin witnessing how conscious direction transforms every form of energy exchange in your experience. Write in the comments, I tithe with declaration. If you're ready to transform your giving from hopeful gesture into powerful spiritual command that activates guaranteed return. This understanding takes tithing to its deepest spiritual level, because true tithing is not about giving to individuals, organizations, or even causes you believe in. It's about giving to spiritual principle itself, acknowledging that spirit is your ultimate source rather than any person, job, or institution. When you tithe from this perspective, you're not trying to support someone else's work. You're honoring the universal law that governs all.
Oh shit, they done flipped it up on me. You're tithing to the spiritual principle itself. You're tithing to the money frequency. Goddamn, didn't that shit flip on me? Let me put that in. You're tithing to the money. You're tithing to the money principle. Oh shit, hold on. That's my favorite one. You're giving to the spiritual principles itself. Damn, this is my favorite one. Hold on, y'all. We're gonna have to roll this one back a little bit more.
Into powerful spiritual command that activates guaranteed return. This understanding takes tithing to its deepest spiritual level, because true tithing is not about giving to individuals, organizations, or even causes you believe in. It's about giving to spiritual principle itself, acknowledging that spirit is your ultimate source rather than any person, job, or institution. When you tithe from this perspective, you're not trying to support someone else's work. You're honoring the universal law that governs all supply and circulation. The transformation happens when you realize that authentic tithing is done from covenant rather than emotion. It's not about feeling moved by someone's story, guilted into giving, or hoping to earn favor through generosity. It's about entering into spiritual contract with the law of circulation itself, sealing your participation in divine flow through conscious giving that acknowledges the source of all abundance. Think about this shift in your own giving patterns. When you give to principle rather than personality, you're no longer dependent on how others use your gift or whether they appreciate your generosity. You're not giving to get emotional satisfaction or recognition. You're giving to activate cosmic law that must respond regardless of human variables or external circumstances. The hidden truth behind exponential returns on giving is that someone learned to tithe as spiritual practice rather than emotional response. Behind the scenes of every miraculous multiplication is a person who understood that their giving was actually a declaration of faith in universal supply, not a transaction with limited human resources. But here's where most people miss the full power of this practice. You must never give in silence again. Every act of generosity must be accompanied by spoken declaration that waters the seed you're planting with your voice. Most people give money and walk away, treating their generosity like a gamble where they hope something good might happen. But when you speak over every gift, affirming its increase and expecting its return, you transform ordinary giving into spiritual command that the universe must honor. The impact of this practice is immediate because you're no longer wondering if your giving will produce results. You're actively programming its multiplication through conscious declaration. The journey toward mastering declared giving requires developing the habit of never releasing money without speaking your expectation over it, understanding that your words are the activating force that distinguishes random generosity from strategic spiritual investment. The revelations that come through this practice teach you that every seed you plant in any area of life requires the water of spoken word to produce maximum harvest, whether you're planting financial seeds, relationship seeds, business seeds, or creative seeds. Write in the comments, I speak over every seed, if you're ready to transform your giving from silent hope into powerful spiritual activation through conscious declaration. Now, the first 4 laws create incredible momentum toward abundance, but there's a 5th divine law that determines whether all your efforts will succeed or sabotage themselves through internal contradiction. The law of agreement reveals that you cannot say one thing and believe another without creating vibrational chaos that blocks your manifestation. Agreement means
You cannot say one thing. Wow. Believing another. All right, let's go.
sacred harmony between what you say, what you believe, and what you genuinely expect to happen in your experience. Most people unknowingly violate this law constantly, creating internal warfare that neutralizes their abundance efforts. They affirm wealth in the morning but worry about bills at night. They declare prosperity while making jokes about being broke. They speak abundance but expect struggle. This contradiction creates scrambled signals that confuse the universe and delay financial breakthrough indefinitely. The transformation happens when you realize that true agreement isn't just about positive thinking. It's about achieving complete vibrational coherence between your conscious desires and your subconscious programming. When your inner and outer word finally align, you become magnetic to matching abundance because there's no internal resistance disrupting your signal. Think about this challenge in your own experience. How often do you catch yourself speaking abundance while feeling scarcity? How frequently do you affirm prosperity while your deeper beliefs whisper doubts about your worthiness or capability? The hidden truth behind why some people manifest quickly while others struggle for years is found in this internal agreement between all levels of their being. But here's where this gets really powerful. You must consciously burn your contracts with scarcity. Over the years, you've made silent Agreements with lack through family patterns that normalized struggle, cultural conditioning that romanticized poverty, and casual conversations that reinforced limitation. These unconscious contracts are still operating in your subconscious, sabotaging your conscious abundance efforts. The journey toward complete agreement requires actively dissolving these old contracts and consciously signing new ones that agree only with wealth, prosperity, and divine supply. Behind the scenes of every sustained financial transformation is someone who did this inner work of contract revision, refusing to honor agreements with lack that were never their true choice. The impact of achieving internal agreement is immediate because your entire being begins broadcasting the same frequency. Your words, thoughts,
Is it me? That sound like goddamn Outcast, don't it? Me and you, your mama and your cousin too. Remember that song? Yeah. What is that song about? I don't know what that song is even about. So, yo, is it me? But do you not want to cry when you listen to this shit? Like, do you not listen to this and want to break down and break down and cry? It's like for people who you knew this stuff, but you didn't know you knew it. But now that you know it for real and it's all coming together, does it not make you just want to cry? Isn't it like kind of like uplifting them? I know I'm not the only one. This shit makes me want to cry. And I mean, it's tears it's tears of releasing something out of myself.
Emotions and expectations all begin pulling in the same direction rather than working against each other. The revelations that come through this practice extend far beyond money because you discover how internal agreement affects every area of manifestation in your life. Write in the comments, "I choose new agreements," if you're ready to dissolve old contracts with lack and sign fresh agreements that align completely with abundance. Now, this brings us to what might be the most foundational divine law of all. Because even if you master every other principle, your results will always be limited by this sixth law. The law of identity reveals that you can only receive what your identity can hold and attract what your subconscious genuinely believes you're worthy of experiencing. If you see yourself as a struggler, someone who's bad with money, or a person who never gets ahead, the universe has no choice but to mirror that exact limitation back to you. This is where most people hit an invisible ceiling in their financial growth. They might apply abundance techniques, speak positive words, and even experience temporary breakthroughs, but eventually they return to their original financial condition because their core identity hasn't shifted. Your subconscious mind acts like a thermostat, constantly adjusting your external circumstances to match your internal sense of who you are. The transformation happens when you understand that identity change must precede reality change, not the other way around. Most people wait for external circumstances to shift before they allow themselves to feel wealthy, successful, or abundant. But according to spiritual law, you must replace every old label with new identity statements first. Then reality reshapes itself to match your new self-concept. Think about the labels you've carried about yourself and money. I'm not good with numbers. Money doesn't come easily to me. I'm just not the wealthy type. Rich people are different from me. Every one of these identity statements functions like a spiritual contract that limits what you can receive because your subconscious mind will sabotage any opportunity that conflicts with your established sense of self. The hidden truth behind lasting financial transformation is that someone consciously replaced statements like, "I'm bad with money," with "I am wealth in motion." They stopped identifying as someone who struggles and started embodying the identity of someone for whom abundance flows naturally. Behind the scenes of every sustained prosperity story is this fundamental identity shift that preceded all external changes: the journey toward identity. Transformation requires daily repetition of new self-concepts until they feel more natural than the old limiting labels. You must speak your new identity aloud, think from your new identity, and make decisions from your new identity until your subconscious finally accepts this upgraded version of who you are. The impact of this work is profound because once identity truly changes through conscious repetition, reality must follow according to spiritual law. The revelations that come through identity transformation extend far beyond money because you discover that every area of your life reflects back your deepest beliefs about who you are and what you deserve to experience. Write in the comments, "I am wealth in motion," if you're ready to replace old financial identity labels with new abundance statements that reshape your entire reality. Now, all 6 laws we've explored create incredible potential for financial transformation, but there's the 7th and final divine law that determines whether you'll actually experience lasting change or simply remain an educated observer of spiritual principles. The law of obedience reveals that you cannot command money if you refuse to obey spiritual law consistently. This isn't about achieving perfection or never making mistakes. It's about developing the kind of daily, intentional, sacred repetition that reshapes your entire reality through rhythm. Most people approach spiritual principles like a buffet, picking and choosing which laws they'll follow based on their mood, convenience, or current circumstances. They practice abundance techniques when they remember, speak consciously when they feel inspired, and circulate money when it seems easy. But divine law doesn't respond to casual application. It responds to consistent obedience that creates new patterns in your subconscious programming. The transformation happens when you realize that spiritual obedience is the bridge between knowing these laws and living their results. Behind the scenes of every sustained financial breakthrough is someone who made the decision to practice these principles daily, regardless of how they felt, what their circumstances looked like, or whether they saw immediate evidence of change. Think about this challenge in your own journey with these 7 laws. How often have you learned powerful spiritual principles only to apply them sporadically when life got busy or doubt crept in? The hidden truth is that rhythm creates results more than intensity ever will. Someone who practices these laws imperfectly but consistently will always outperform someone who applies them perfectly but occasionally. This understanding leads us to a practical framework that can revolutionize your relationship with money in just 7 days. The 7 Days of Covenant Living Challenge requires you to practice all 7 laws daily as your new rhythm, creating a comprehensive spiritual practice that addresses every aspect of financial manifestation simultaneously. The structure is surprisingly simple, but profoundly effective. Each morning begins with conscious word declaration, speaking your financial reality into existence. Midday involves assumption embodiment, living as if your abundance is already complete. Throughout the day, you practice thought substitution, replacing any scarcity thinking with abundance statements. Evening includes circulation with declaration, releasing money while speaking its return. Finally, you seal each day with expectation practices that anchor your faith in divine provision. The impact of this 7-day intensive creates momentum that most people have never experienced because you're addressing financial transformation from every angle simultaneously, rather than hoping one technique will somehow override years of contradictory programming. Write in the comments, "I commit to 7 days," if you're ready to move beyond studying these laws and start living them through consistent daily practice. The beauty of this 7-day framework lies in its precision and simplicity, starting each morning with a command routine that sets your entire day's frequency. The moment you wake, before checking your phone or allowing the world's chaos to infiltrate your consciousness, you begin with the law of the word, declaring, "My voice is the voice of wealth. I speak money into motion." This isn't just reciting words. You're literally programming your subconscious mind and announcing to the universe your financial intentions for the day. Immediately following this declaration, you embody the law of assumption by consciously shifting into living as though your supply is already released. This means making your morning coffee as someone who is financially free, choosing your clothes as someone whose abundance is secured, and planning your day from the mindset of someone whose prosperity is already manifesting. The transformation happens in these seemingly small moments because you're training your nervous system to operate from abundance rather than anxiety. As your day unfolds, the midday alignment practice becomes your spiritual anchor point, especially when the world tries to pull you back into old patterns of thinking. This is where the law of substitution becomes your most powerful tool. The moment you catch yourself thinking thoughts of lack, doubt, fear, or delay, you immediately interrupt that pattern and replace it with, I am divinely provided for. There is no loss in spirit. Think about how radical this practice actually is. Most people allow hundreds of scarcity thoughts to pass through their minds unchallenged throughout the day, each one reinforcing their financial limitations. But when you become vigilant about thought substitution, you're essentially rewiring your mental patterns in real time, refusing to allow your mind to rehearse lack when you could be rehearsing abundance. The hidden truth behind why this midday practice is so effective is that your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between repetition that happens during formal meditation and repetition that happens during daily life. Every time you substitute a fear-based thought with an abundance-based declaration, you're making a deposit in your spiritual bank account that accumulates interest throughout the day. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is someone who learned to guard their thoughts as carefully as they guard their physical possessions. Understanding that mental discipline creates material results. The impact of consistent thought substitution extends far beyond money because you begin experiencing how conscious mental direction affects every area of your life experience. The journey through this 7-day practice reveals layer after layer of unconscious programming that has been silently sabotaging your financial efforts, while simultaneously installing new patterns that naturally attract abundance. Write in the comments, I guard my thoughts, if you're ready to practice vigilant thought substitution and refuse to allow scarcity thinking to sabotage your abundance efforts. As the day draws to a close, the evening seal ritual becomes the most powerful moment in your entire spiritual practice, because this is where you activate the law of circulation with absolute intention and divine declaration. Whether you're tithing to spiritual principle, giving to someone in need, or simply circulating money through normal transactions, you never release a single dollar without speaking over it. This seed is blessed, it returns to me multiplied, it opens doors no man can shut. This practice transforms ordinary money movement into extraordinary spiritual activation because you're programming every financial release with expectation of increase rather than fear of loss. Most people pay bills with resentment, give money with anxiety, or spend with worry about whether they'll have enough. But when you speak blessing over every dollar that leaves your hands, you're essentially commanding the universe to honor your circulation with abundant return. The transformation happens when you realize that this evening declaration isn't just hope or positive thinking, it's spiritual law in action. You're not asking the universe to maybe bless your giving. You're declaring that divine law must respond to your conscious circulation with multiplication. Behind this,
You're declaring. See the difference? You're declaring that divine law. I missed that one. Hold on. 59:11.
or positive thinking, it's spiritual law in action. You're not asking the universe to maybe bless your giving. You're declaring that divine law must respond to your conscious circulation with multiplication. Behind the scenes of every financial miracle is someone who learned to speak over their money with this level of authority and expectation. Following your circulation declarations, you seal the entire day with expectation statements that anchor your faith in divine provision. This isn't passive hoping, but active commanding, declaring that your supply is already on its way, that opportunities are already arranging themselves, and that abundance is already flowing toward you through channels you haven't even imagined yet. But here's where this entire 7-day practice culminates in the most powerful spiritual statement you can make about your relationship with money. You seal all your practices with the ultimate declaration of authority. Because I obey divine law, money cannot ignore me. This becomes your spiritual sword, your rhythm, and your reprogramming tool that literally makes the external world bend to match your internal frequency. Think about the profound shift this represents in your relationship with abundance. You're no longer begging the universe for financial breakthrough or wondering if you deserve prosperity. You're declaring that your obedience to spiritual law creates an irresistible magnetic pull that money must respond to. The hidden truth behind this declaration is that it positions you as a spiritual authority rather than a financial victim. If you've stayed with me through this entire journey of the 7 divine laws, you're clearly someone who's ready for real transformation, not just surface-level motivation. The fact that you're still here tells me everything I need to know about your commitment to changing your financial reality through spiritual alignment, rather than just hoping for lucky breaks. These laws we've explored together aren't going anywhere. They'll be working in your life, whether you consciously apply them or not. But now you have the choice to work with them intentionally, to become someone who commands abundance rather than chases it. This is exactly the kind of deep, practical, spiritual content I share here because I believe you deserve to understand how the universe actually operates behind the scenes. If this resonates with you, if you can feel these principles stirring something inside that knows this is your path forward, I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel. There's so much more to explore about the intersection of spiritual law and practical abundance, and I want to continue this conversation with you. Let me know you made it all.
Okay. Let me go. I like the other one better. Remember the one we went to first? No, we don't want to do that. We want to get back to right. We want to go here.
Hello, sweetheart. What if I told you that the reason money keeps running away from you like a cat who doesn't want a bath is because you've never actually introduced yourself? I know.
Let's go here.
Hello, sweetheart. What if I told you that the reason money has kept slipping?
Hello, sweetheart. What if I told you that the reason money keeps running away from you like a cat who doesn't want a bath?
This is the one. Okay. Okay, it was this one.
You know what's absolutely hilarious? We can order a pizza at 3 in the morning with complete confidence that it'll show up at our door hot, cheesy, and exactly what we asked for. We don't sit there questioning whether the pizza place exists, whether they have the ingredients, or whether we deserve pepperoni. We just order it and expect it to arrive. But when it comes to money, oh, honey, suddenly we turn into anxious philosophers debating our worthiness and wondering if abundance is even real.
That is well fucking said.
Well, what if I told you that ordering wealth works exactly the same way as ordering food? And once you understand this simple truth, your entire financial reality can shift faster than you can say extra cheese. I see you there, scrolling through another money manifestation video at 2 in the morning, wondering why everyone else seems to have cracked the code while you're still struggling to pay your bills on time. You've read the books, watched the documentaries, tried the affirmations, and yet your bank account still looks like a sad emoji. You're probably thinking there's something fundamentally wrong with you, that you're missing some secret ingredient that everyone else got in their cosmic starter kit. Trust me, darling, I've been exactly where you are, staring at my reflection, wondering why I can manifest a parking spot like magic, but can't seem to manifest more than $20 in my wallet. Here's the thing that nobody talks about in those shiny self-help circles. You've been conditioned to believe that money is different from everything else in the universe.
Yep.
Society has taught you that wealth is scarce, that you have to struggle for it, that only certain people deserve it, and that want it makes you somehow shallow or greedy. Meanwhile, you order your morning coffee without a single thought about whether you deserve caffeine or whether there's enough coffee in the world for everyone. The disconnect is absolutely mind-boggling when you really think about it. The core challenge isn't that you don't know how to attract money. The challenge is that you've been taught to treat money like some mystical, unpredictable force, instead of recognizing it for what it actually is: energy responding to your mental ordering system. Every single day, you successfully place orders with the universe for thousands of things. You expect the sun to rise, and it does. You expect your car to start, and it usually does. You expect your favorite show to be available when you want to watch it, and there it is. Your expectation is so natural, so effortless, that you don't even notice how powerful you already are. But money? Oh, with money we get all twisted up. We start our order with doubt, season it with fear, add a side of unworthiness, and then wonder why we keep getting served exactly what we ordered. More lack, more struggle, more reasons to believe money is hard to come by. It's like walking into a restaurant and saying, "I'd like a burger, but I probably don't deserve it. And you probably don't have the ingredients anyway. And even if you did, I bet it would be terrible, and I should probably just have water instead." Then being shocked when the waiter brings you a glass of water and a confused look. Let me share something that will change everything for you. The universe operates on a simple ordering system, and it's been working perfectly your entire life. When you think a thought with feeling and expectation behind it, you're literally placing an order. The universe doesn't judge your order, doesn't decide whether you're worthy of it, and doesn't make moral judgments about what you're requesting. It simply fills the order based on the clarity and conviction of your mental order slip. Think about the last time you ordered takeout. You didn't spend 45 minutes wondering if you deserved pad thai. You didn't call your friends to ask their opinion about whether spring rolls were too indulgent. You didn't sit there calculating whether there was enough food in the world for everyone. You simply decided what you wanted, placed your order with complete expectation that it would be fulfilled, and then went about your evening knowing dinner was on its way. That's exactly the energy you need to bring to ordering wealth. The scientific principle behind this is actually quite simple, though most people overcomplicate it. Your subconscious mind is like the most efficient personal assistant in the world. It takes your dominant thoughts and feelings as instructions, and then works 24/7 to make your external reality match your internal expectations. When you consistently think thoughts of lack while feeling anxious about money, your subconscious gets the message loud and clear. Create more situations that confirm lack and anxiety about money. It's not being mean. It's just doing its job based on the orders you're placing. But here's where it gets exciting. Your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between what you want and what you don't want. It only responds to the emotional intensity and repetition of your thoughts. So when you obsess about not having enough money, you're actually placing a very clear, emotionally charged order for more experiences of not having enough money. It's like repeatedly ordering, "I don't want anchovies," and being surprised when anchovies keep showing up, because you've been thinking about anchovies with strong emotion every single day. The key to changing this pattern is ridiculously simple, though simple doesn't always mean easy at first. You need to start placing your wealth orders the same way you place your food orders, with clarity, confidence, and complete expectation that what you've ordered will be delivered. No second guessing, no wondering if you deserve it, no calculating the logistics of how it will happen. Just pure, clean ordering energy. Here's your first practical step, and I want you to try this today. Right now, think of a specific amount of money you'd like to have in your life. Don't make it so big that your mind immediately rebels, but don't make it so small that it doesn't excite you. Maybe it's $500, maybe it's $2,000, maybe it's $10,000. Whatever feels like a stretch but not impossible for you right now. Now, here's the magic part. I want you to mentally place this order exactly like you would order food. Close your eyes and imagine walking into your favorite restaurant. The server comes over with a smile and asks what you'd like today. You look at the menu, point to your financial goal, and say with complete confidence, "I'll have the financial abundance package for $2,000, please. And I'd like that delivered to my life within the next 30 days. Feel the same casual confidence you'd have ordering your favorite meal. Feel the expectation that your order will be fulfilled. Feel the satisfaction of knowing it's already on its way. Now, and this is crucial, once you've placed your order, stop thinking about it obsessively. When you order pizza, you don't call the restaurant every 5 minutes asking where your pizza is. You don't stand by the window anxiously watching for the delivery car. You don't wonder if maybe you should have ordered something different. You simply go about your evening, knowing that in about 30 minutes, there's going to be a knock on your door and your delicious dinner will arrive. The same principle applies to wealth. Once you've placed your order with the universe, the best thing you can do is relax into the knowing that it's being prepared. Start living as if your order has already been placed and is on its way. This doesn't mean being reckless with money you don't yet have, but it does mean shifting your energy from desperate wanting to confident expecting. Here's your second practical step. Every morning for the next week, I want you to check on your order, but not in an anxious way. Think of it like tracking a package online. You're not worried about whether it exists or whether it will arrive. You're simply checking in with excited anticipation. Say something like, "Good morning, universe. Just checking in on that financial abundance I ordered. I'm so excited to see how it's going to show up today." And go about your day with your eyes open for opportunities, ideas, and inspired actions. The third step is learning to recognize when your order is being processed. The universe rarely delivers wealth in the exact form we expect, just like sometimes the restaurant substitutes ingredients or offers an upgraded version of what we ordered. Maybe you ordered $2,000 and instead you get offered a freelance project, a brilliant business idea, or you suddenly remember about money someone owes you. Don't be so attached to how your order arrives that you miss it when it shows up. I remember when I first started applying this principle, I was desperately wanting to attract $300 to pay a bill. I placed my order with the universe just like I've described, and then I let it go. 2 days later, a friend called and asked if I wanted to help her organize her closet for $50. That same week, I found a $20 bill in an old jacket, sold some books online for $40, and received an unexpected refund check for $190. It wasn't one big chunk of $300. It was multiple deliveries that added up to exactly what I'd ordered. The universe had filled my order perfectly, but in its own creative way. Your fourth practical step is learning to tip the universe appropriately. When your wealth orders start showing up, acknowledge them with gratitude, just like you'd thank a good server or delivery person. The energy of appreciation tells the universe that you received your order. You're satisfied with the service, and you'll definitely be ordering again. Gratitude is like leaving a 5-star review for cosmic customer service. But here's something most people miss entirely. The universe loves repeat customers just like restaurants do. The more you practice this ordering system, the faster and more accurate your deliveries become. The universe starts to know your preferences, anticipates your needs, and sometimes even suggests upgrades you hadn't thought to order. It's like having a cosmic personal assistant who gets better at serving you the more you work together. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Your mind is probably right now coming up with a list of reasons why this can't possibly work for you. But I have bills to pay right now. But the economy is terrible. But I don't have any skills. But I'm too old, too young, too inexperienced, too whatever. Honey, these are all just toppings you're adding to your order. Every time you think one of these limiting thoughts, you're essentially walking into the restaurant and saying, "I'd like a delicious meal, but I'm probably too broke to afford it. And you probably think I'm stupid, and the food here is probably awful anyway." The restaurant doesn't care about your personal story or your past dining experiences. They just want to give you what you order. The universe operates the same way. It doesn't care about your credit score, your job history, or what your family thinks about your financial goals. It only cares about the clarity and emotional intensity of your order. Here's your fifth and most important step. Start cleaning up your mental order slips. Every time you catch yourself thinking a thought about money that you wouldn't want to receive, immediately cancel that order and place a new one. It's like calling the restaurant and saying, "Actually, scratch that. I'd like to change my order to something delicious instead." You can literally say, "Cancel, clear, delete. I'll have financial abundance and peace of mind instead, please." The beautiful thing about this system is that you can start practicing it right now, today, with small orders. Order a perfect parking spot and watch how effortlessly it shows up. Order green lights on your way to work and notice how traffic flows. Order a beautiful day and see how your perception shifts. These small successes will build your confidence in the ordering system, and confidence is like having a gold card with the universe. Your orders get processed faster and with better service. I want you to understand something profound. You've never actually been bad with money. You've simply been unconsciously placing orders for financial struggle because that's what you were taught to expect. You've been loyally receiving exactly what you ordered, which proves that the system works perfectly. Now you just need to start placing different orders. The moment you truly get this, everything changes. Money stops being this mysterious, difficult thing and becomes as simple and natural as ordering your morning coffee. You start to see opportunities everywhere because your mind is now programmed to look for ways to fulfill your wealth orders instead of reasons to confirm your limitations. So here's what I want you to do right now. Before you click away from this video, I want you to place one small financial order with the universe. Maybe it's finding a $20 bill, receiving an unexpected check, or having someone offer to pay for your lunch. Keep it small enough that your mind doesn't resist, but exciting enough that you'll notice when it arrives. Then I want you to come back to this video and leave a comment telling me what happened. Don't wait a month or even a week. Give the universe 24 to 48 hours to fill your order, then report back. I promise you, when you start seeing these small orders fulfilled, your confidence in the system will skyrocket, and you'll be ready to place bigger and bigger orders.
I like that one. I didn't write down the list, but that
Remember,
was good.
you're not asking the universe for charity. You're not begging for scraps. You're placing legitimate orders for abundance that you have every right to receive, and you're doing it with the same confidence and expectation that you order everything else in your life. The universe is like the most efficient restaurant in existence, with unlimited ingredients and 24-hour delivery. The only question is, what are you going to order today? Your wealth is not coming someday when you're more deserving or more prepared. It's available right now, in this moment, as soon as you place a clear, confident order and allow it to be delivered. Stop waiting for permission. Stop calculating your worthiness, and start ordering your abundance like the cosmic customer you were born to be. Your financial feast is waiting to be served. You just need to place the order. Hello, sweetheart. Find a comfortable chair. This is not a quick chat. This is a necessary excavation of your own power. We are going to dig, and we are going to build. So settle in. Let's have a monumental, potentially life-altering, and let's be honest, a slightly hilarious conversation about money. Not just any money, not pocket change, not a hopeful wish for a slightly better month. We are talking about a sum that makes your spirit sit up straight, a sum that has weight. Let's give it a number. Let's say $80,000. That number didn't just pop into your head. It landed. It has been living in the back of your mind, a quiet, persistent hum behind the daily noise of bills and responsibilities. It's the number that represents freedom, isn't it? It's the debt erased, the business launched, the down payment secured, the deep, soul-level sigh of relief that comes from knowing you are not just surviving, but truly building a life. And if you're like most people, every time that number flashes in your mind, it's immediately followed by a chorus of other voices. The voice of reason that says, be practical. The voice of fear that whispers, who do you think you are? The voice of your past experiences that shrugs and says, things like that don't happen for people like us. Those voices make you feel small. They make you feel almost guilty for daring to want that much, for dreaming that big. They make you shrink your own desire back down into a manageable, reasonable, tiny little hope that won't upset anyone. I know that feeling intimately. I have lived in that small room of limited expectation, and I am here to tell you that the door is not locked. It never was. You have simply been taught to believe it was. The world is a brilliant illusionist, making you believe that you must grind, hustle, struggle, and plead for every single crumb of abundance. It's an exhausting game, and the rules are designed so you can never really win. You end up feeling like a beggar at the banquet of life, hoping someone might toss a scrap your way if you're well-behaved and work hard enough. It's a trap, a clever, soul-crushing trap. But what if I told you, with every fiber of my being, that your entire approach is backwards? Completely, utterly, hilariously backwards. You are not a beggar. You are a master. You are not meant to plead with the universe. You are meant to command it. The universe is not a stingy, withholding parent. It is an infinite, overflowing, abundant ocean of possibility. It is constantly trying to give to you, to express through you, to create for you. The problem is never with the supply. The supply is endless. The problem is always with the receiver, with you, and specifically with your words. You see, you are placing an order with the cosmic kitchen every single minute of every single day. Your thoughts are whispers of what you want. Your beliefs are the real order you're placing. And your words are the command that seals the deal. But most people are like a shaky, nervous customer in a fine restaurant. They're mumbling into the menu saying, oh, whatever is easiest for the chef. Maybe the soup. If it's not too much trouble, I don't want to be a bother. And then they wonder why they keep getting served a lukewarm bowl of mediocrity. The chef, the universe, is a genius. It can create anything, but it needs a clear, direct, unequivocal order. It needs you to point at the menu and say, I will have the $80,000 steak cooked to perfection with all the trimmings. Thank you. The universe responds to command. It respects authority. It is waiting for you to remember your own. So let's talk about why this feels so difficult. Why does commanding $80,000 feel so much more audacious than hoping for a few hundred? It's because of the stories we tell ourselves. We have a logical, rational mind that is trained to figure things out. It sees a problem and it wants to solve it using known resources. You need $80,000? Okay, logic says, work more hours, get a second job, save for 17 years, win the lottery. Logic looks at the boy and, how? And because the how seems impossible, illogical, and completely out of reach, your logical mind shuts the whole idea down. It protects you from disappointment by convincing you not to try. It calls itself being realistic. But I am here to tell you that your logical mind is a brilliant servant but a terrible master. You cannot logic your way into a miracle. You cannot figure out the Christus. How? The Seppen. How is not your job. Your job is to command the Seppen, what, and to believe in the why. The why being that you are worthy of it, that it is your divine right to live abundantly. The universe has a million ways to get $80,000 to you that your logical mind could never conceive of. A forgotten investment, a sudden business opportunity, a royalties check, a creative idea, a divine connection. Your job is not to drive the delivery truck. Your job is to order the package and be ready to receive it with joy. Think of it like training a muscle. Your faith is a muscle. Right now, it might be a weak, flabby muscle from lack of use. You've been using your worry muscle, your doubt muscle, your fear muscle. They are incredibly strong. We need to switch the workout. We need to start lifting weights with your faith. And the barbell we are going to use is the number 80,000. It's heavy on purpose. It's meant to stretch you. It's meant to make that faith muscle burn and grow. You wouldn't walk into a gym for the first time and expect to lift 300 pounds. You'd start smaller, but you'd have the goal. This is the same. 80,000 is the goal. We start building the strength to receive it today, right now. So, how do we do this? How do we actually practically command the universe for such a significant sum? We break it down into 3 powerful, actionable steps. This is not theory. This is practice. This is your new spiritual discipline. First, and this is the foundation, you must get into a state of feeling rich. You must embody the vibration of already having. The universe is a mirror. It only reflects back to you what you are putting out. If you are putting out the vibration of lack, of struggle, of I don't have enough, guess what it will reflect back? More lack, more struggle, more not enough. You must shift your frequency. Now, before you panic and tell me you can't afford to feel rich, let me be very clear. I am not telling you to go out and spend money you don't have. That is not prosperity. That is foolishness. I am telling you to feel the feeling. Wealth is a state of mind before it is a state of your bank account. So, how do you do that? You act as if. You rehearse. You wear the clothes in your closet that make you feel successful and powerful, even if you're just sitting at home. You make your space beautiful and clean, as if it were a luxurious sanctuary. You buy the better quality groceries, not as an extravagance, but as a statement. I am worthy of good things. You walk into a beautiful hotel lobby or a fancy car dealership, not as an imposter, but as someone appreciating what is already yours in spirit. You walk through your neighborhood as if you own the street, because in the realm of consciousness, you do. You are practicing the feeling. You are telling your subconscious mind, this is who we are. This is our normal. This feels silly at first. Your logical mind will throw a tantrum. Let it. Feel the feeling anyway. This is you tuning your radio to the station of Abundance FM. Until you are tuned to that station, you cannot hear the music, no matter how loudly it's playing. Second, you must speak the word. This is the command. This is where you place your order with clarity and authority. This is non-negotiable. Every single morning, before the world has a chance to tell you who you are, and every single night, as the last thing you do, you look yourself in the eye, in the mirror. You stand up straight. You take a deep breath, and you say, with conviction, with power, with unwavering belief, Universe, send me $80,000 now in a perfect way. Say it like you mean it. Say it like you are confirming a transaction that is already complete. Say it like a CEO confirming an order. The words are specific for a reason. Universe, you are addressing the source. Send me. You are the receiver, the beneficiary. $80,000. The exact, specific amount. No vagueness. Now. Not someday. Not eventually. Now. In a perfect way. This is you releasing the how. This is you giving the universe full creative license to deliver this in the most amazing, miraculous, and beneficial way possible. This incantation is your spiritual transaction. It is you signing the contract. Do not whisper it. Do not mumble it. Declare it. Your voice has power. Use it. Third, and this is perhaps the hardest part for the logical mind, you must get out of the way. You have placed your order. You have commanded it. Now, you must live in the happy, joyful expectation of its arrival. This means you must stop doubting. You must stop looking for the how. You must stop staring at your bank account and wondering why it hasn't happened yet. This is like planting a seed in the ground and digging it up every hour to see if it's growing. You are sabotaging the process. Your job is to water the seed with your faith and let the sun and the soil and the universe do their work. Live as if you are expecting the most wonderful news at any moment. Your mood should be light. Your heart should be open. You should be looking for signs of its arrival with excitement, not with anxiety. When doubts come, and they will gently dismiss them. Thank you for sharing, but my order is already placed. The delivery is on its way. You must prepare the landing pad for this abundance. Clean up your finances on paper. Make space in your life for this new energy. How would someone who has $80,000 think? How would they carry themselves? How would they plan their day? Embody that. The universe loves a prepared vessel. This is not magic. This is spiritual law. It is as real as the law of gravity. You are not asking. You are commanding from a place of your divine right. You are not a beggar. You are a child of infinite abundance. The $80,000 is not a fantasy. It is a divine idea seeking expression through you. It is already yours in the invisible. Your command, your faith, your feeling are simply the tools you use to bring it into the visible world. So, your call to action, right this very second, is to begin. Do not wait. The time is now. Pause this video. I am serious. Pause it. Go look in the nearest mirror. Look yourself right in the eye, past all the doubt, past all the stories, and see the powerful Creator looking back at you, and say it, out loud, with everything you have. Universe, send me $80,000 now in a perfect way. Say it again, and one more time, like you really, truly mean it. Feel that shiver, that tiny crack in the universe. That was the sound of your order being received. That was you remembering your power. Now, I want you to cement this. I want you to declare it to the cosmos. Go down into the comments section and type these exact words. My order for $80,000 is placed. Do it for you, not for me. For you, to make it real in this reality. To put it out there. To join your faith with others who are doing the same. And while you are down there, hit the subscribe button, because this is just the beginning.
Hold on.
We are building.
Hold on. Let's use this one.
I did not come from money. I did not come from silver spoons or trust funds or neatly stacked inheritance papers signed by the hands of earthly patriarchs. But I did come from law. I came from rhythm. I came from the spoken word that never returns void. And that, my dear listener, is a far greater inheritance than any vault of gold locked behind the gates of men. For the vault I opened was spiritual, and the key I turned was invisible. I broke the back of generational lack, not with hustle. Not with hustle's frantic sweat, not with the panic of performance or the pressure of proving I belonged. I broke it with declaration, with rhythm, with the sacred, repeated, divine speech that says, "What is?" until the world agrees. I spoke my wealth before I touched it. I praised my millions while the bank balance mocked me. I laid claim to the unseen treasury while those around me wrung their hands over cents. And I did not flinch because I knew. I was not repeating wishful thinking. I was enforcing spiritual law. Let them say what they will about luck and lineage and labor. I came from none of those. I came from truth. I was born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of man, but of God. And being born of God, I knew that my supply came not from what I saw, but from what I said. Not from toil, but from tongue. Not from budget, but from belief. I did not wait to inherit. I declared my inheritance. I did not knock on doors. I spoke them into opening. And while others feared the economy, I feasted on the word. For the word was made flesh, and wealth is simply divine word clothed in matter. Do you hear me? Your next fortune is not out there. It is in here, already encoded in your voice, already hovering in the unseen, waiting for the sound of law to call it into the scene. You do not need more money. You need more rhythm, more authority, more unshakable, unapologetic speech that speaks as if you already received, because in divine mind, you already have. You don't inherit gold. You inherit the word. And if you speak that word in season, if you decree that law when everything around you shouts limitation, if you anchor yourself not to your history but to divine order, then all that is yours must appear. It cannot help itself, for spiritual law obeys voice. It does not obey silence. It does not obey worry. It does not obey mere desire. It obeys speech. So I ask you, whose voice is shaping your fortune today? Your ancestors? Your fears? The voice of the news? Or the voice of the I am? You may not come from money, but if you come from law, then you come from the true vault. And that vault will never run dry. That vault cannot be stolen. That vault is built on the rhythm of let there be. That vault responds not to striving, but to speech. Let the world keep its trust funds and inherited land. I have a higher trust, a divine trust, a spiritual estate, and every time I speak the word, I cash the inheritance my soul has carried for lifetimes. And now I speak to you. Rise, speak, step forward as the first in your family, not to earn wealth, but to remember it, to speak it, to declare it, because if you came from law, then you came from the highest bloodline in existence, and no curse, no past, No pattern can outrun a spoken word backed by divine knowing. There is a curse that no one names aloud, but almost every soul carries in silence. A generational vibration of lack, a whispered agreement passed down through worn-out phrases, hollow prayers, and unchallenged fear. It is not written in wills or signed in ink, but etched deep into the language of families, encoded in the sighs of mothers who said, "We'll get by," and the hunched shoulders of fathers who muttered, "It's never enough." It's in the trembling hesitation of children who learned not to ask, not to dream too big, not to expect the windows of heaven to open for them. And though no one says it outright, the unspoken doctrine rings louder than scripture in most households. Money is hard, wealth is for others. We are not the chosen. That is the inheritance most people unknowingly accept. The belief that they must tiptoe through life, never upsetting the invisible rules of struggle, never questioning the weight of ancestral patterns that have calcified into identity.
You can ask.
But I am here to tell you the truth. You are not your family's struggle. You are not their scarcity. You are not the echo of their fears or the extension of their lack. You are not their caution-made flesh. You are the interruption. You are the reversal. You are the holy contradiction to every story they survived but never questioned. You are the spoken law that breaks the pattern. And to become that, you must renounce not their love, but their limitations. You must stop protecting the voice of lack just because it sounds familiar. You must stop romanticizing the struggle just because it was honorable. And you must stop confusing inheritance with imitation. Because what you carry is not just their blood, it is their unspoken beliefs. And unless you bring those into the light of spiritual law, you will find yourself repeating what you swore to transcend. Not because you want to, but because agreement is magnetic. The tongue is the pen of the heart, and the tongue of your house wrote lack into the walls. But now the pen is in your hand, and you must write something new. You must write wealth into your walls. You must speak abundance into your lineage. You must change the rhythm of your bloodline by changing the rhythm of your voice. I know what it is to love people who feared money. I know what it is to honor the hands that raised you while refusing the fear that shaped them. But I also know this: agreement with their fear is not love. Agreement with their limitation is not loyalty. And when I finally said, "No more," I choose law over legacy. Something broke in the unseen. I felt it. A spiritual cord snapped, a generational spell dissolved. A new rhythm began to pulse through me, one that did not apologize for wanting more, one that did not flinch at wealth, one that did not wear smallness like a badge of honor. It was then that I remembered the truth of Galatians 3:29. And if ye be Christ's, then are ye Abraham's seed, and heirs according to the promise. I was not merely the daughter of my earthly lineage. I was an heir, not of struggle, but of promise, not of delay, but of divine order, not of lack, but of law. And I spoke that inheritance into form. I said, I am the heir of wealth, the child of divine supply, the vessel through which my entire family line shall rise. And when I said it, I meant it. And when I meant it, heaven moved. Because heaven listens not to desperation, but to dominion. It listens to heirs. It listens to boldness. It listens to those who no longer ask, "Am I worthy?" and instead declare, "It is mine." You, beloved, are not here to carry their weight. You are here to close their cycle. You are here to speak a better word. And you must begin now. For every time you say, "I receive," you speak for those who never could. And every time you declare, "I am the first but not the last," you become the generational gatekeeper of divine reversal. You become the vault opener, the curse breaker, the new law in motion. There comes a moment, rare, holy, irreversible, when the soul stops rehearsing the story of its past and begins declaring the law of its future. A moment when you no longer argue with your reflection, no longer plead for permission from ghosts, no longer ask struggle to step aside. but instead rise in the name of divine law and say, I choose a different inheritance. That moment, for me, was not filled with lightning or applause. It was quiet, sacred, a spiritual stillness that rose up in my being like a wave of fire that refused to recede. I remember standing in front of the mirror, the same mirror where generations of women before me had adjusted their expectations downward. And I heard the sentence, not with ears, but with spirit. You do not have to carry their fear. You came to reverse it. That was the day I changed my name in the spirit, not from Scovel to Shin, but from legacy to law, not from survival to supply, not from borrowed beliefs to bold dominion. That was the day I looked my inherited identity in the eye and said, I see you, I honor you, but I do not serve you anymore. You see, the law does not need your family's permission. The law does not wait until everyone claps. The law moves when you speak. And I spoke. I said, I am the first to receive what was always mine in spirit. Not what I earned, not what I achieved, but what had already been prepared, already waiting, already pulsing in the atmosphere of divine substance, looking for a voice that would call it forth. And when I spoke, heaven did not blink. It responded. It rearranged itself to agree with my agreement. For the law is always listening, not to your feelings, but to your declarations. And on that day, I made the most dangerous, most liberating, most loving declaration I had ever dared to utter. I choose divine law over family legacy. I choose inheritance by speech, not by sympathy. I choose to be the first, not because I'm better, but because I remembered first. It was not rebellion. It was remembrance. It was not betrayal. It was obedience to spirit. It was not arrogance. It was alignment. And as I walked forward with my new spiritual name, I felt the past try to call me back. I heard the voices say, that's not how we were raised. Be realistic. Don't speak too boldly. But I had changed frequency. I had tuned into a station they had never dared to find. And from that moment forward, I vowed never to let the volume of ancestral limitation drown out the melody of spiritual law. I vowed never again to choose belonging over breakthrough. I vowed to speak, walk, spend, and expect as one who knows the truth, that no one can pass on what they never possessed, but the law of God was mine from the beginning. And so I invite you now to your turning point, you who feel torn between honoring where you came from and becoming who you're called to be, you who fear leaving the tribe of smallness, you who whisper declarations in secret but haven't yet claimed them aloud. Let today be the day. Let now be the moment you say, I am the first in my line to remember the law. Say it trembling, say it shaking, but say it. Because heaven doesn't need your perfection. It needs your permission. And when you speak with holy remembrance, with sacred defiance, with unwavering agreement, your entire bloodline begins to shift. Not because they followed you, but because you finally followed truth. The first law that shattered the spell of poverty over my life was the law of substitution. It is simple in theory, but radical in practice. It states that whatever you do not want, you must not rehearse, and whatever you do want, you must install into consciousness through deliberate, rhythmic, law-rooted speech. It is the law that commands, replace the lie with truth, the fear with faith, the lack with law. For consciousness is never neutral. It is either echoing the world or announcing heaven. And the soul who would rise must learn to interrupt its own inner dialogue with spiritual authority. I saw this firsthand when I realized just how often my thoughts were borrowed, how frequently I repeated the fearful phrases of my upbringing without question. Money doesn't grow on trees. Don't get your hopes up. We can't afford that. These were not simply words, they were spells, spoken agreements with a lower realm, magnetic frequencies that pulled my life downward every time I let them pass my lips. And I knew, If I didn't change my words, I would never change my world. So I began to practice substitution, not as a spiritual game, but as sacred discipline. Whenever I heard the voice of fear whisper, "You're behind," I spoke. I walk in perfect timing with divine supply. When my bank account threatened to preach to me, I interrupted it with, "Money comes to me now, rich and unceasing, under grace." And when worry tried to narrate my future, I cut it off mid-sentence and declared, "My future is already funded." The world called it denial. But I knew better. I was not denying reality. I was replacing illusion. I was not ignoring facts. I was installing truth. For truth is not passive. Truth is a sword. Truth is a law. Truth is the only voice the universe must obey. And every time I substituted fear with the spoken word of God, I was enforcing that truth, not only in the heavens, but in the rhythm of my own being. It was not easy at first. The old phrases were stubborn. They had been spoken by generations. They carried the weight of memories, the sound of familiar sorrow, the logic of survival. But the law does not bow to memory, it bows to voice. And so I persisted. I traded every sentence of worry for a declaration of wealth. I swapped every sigh of lack for a shout of divine sufficiency. I went to war with my inner language, not with anger, but with authority. And slowly, my inner atmosphere began to change. I felt it in my bones before I saw it in my life. The fear began to thin. The doubt began to unravel. The shame began to lift. And in its place came the golden silence of peace. The knowing that what I had declared was already in motion, already forming, already flowing into visibility. The law of substitution is the sword you must draw if you are to cut off the inherited language of limitation. It is not enough to love your family. You must speak a higher rhythm than they had access to. It is not enough to wish for wealth. You must replace every internal voice that says, "It's too late, too far, too much," with the voice of law that says, "It is done, it is mine, it is arriving now." Say it again. It is done. It is mine. It is arriving now. This is the way of the law. It does not argue, it replaces. It does not negotiate, it declares. And you, beloved, are not here to maintain the spell. You are here to reverse it. You are here to speak what should have been spoken generations ago. You are here to install a vocabulary of victory where there has only been the muttering of survival. You are here to wear the crown of clarity in a house that echoed confusion, and you will do it, not by force, not by chance, but by substitution, by replacing fear with faith, delay with decree, echo with law. So begin now, today. When fear speaks, override it. When doubt whispers, interrupt it. When old patterns rise, cast them out with the word. For your future does not belong to what you feel, it belongs to what you declare. And the law of substitution will never fail a voice that refuses to echo fear. The second law that turned my life from financial drought into divine downpour was the law of prosperity. And let me be clear from the beginning, prosperity is not a reward. It is not the prize of perfect behavior, the wage of spiritual performance, or the fluke of generational favor. Prosperity is a law, a current, a spiritual substance waiting for voice, rhythm, and alignment. And until you see it as law, you will beg where you should be declaring. You will delay where you should be receiving.
What I say to all of you while you are journaling and writing this down and applying this, because this is all, as you can see, I'm making this into a playlist, so we're going to listen to this all again. See where you're breaking these laws. Write down the first 7, write down the 5, write down the 3. Where have you broke this law? Look at your law. Look at your relationship with money. When you do your declaration and all that stuff to your money from the beginning. See where you went wrong with your money. See where you disrespected your money. See what I'm saying? And then from that, see where you broke these laws. Write them down. You got to start with honesty. Not just, oh, this is the law. of assumption, and this is the law of word. And you have to look first, start with what words do I use? What do I say? How do I speak when I look at my bills? How do I talk to other people about money? What do I do? So be very honest with yourself, where you may be breaking these laws, or you may be following this law subconsciously, but maybe it's something you need to step up in following this law, understand a little bit more. Like the law of tithing, that was different. I've never heard of tithing being like that. See that? So you have to get into that. Maybe you're someone who goes to a religious institution, and I hope that doesn't offend anybody, or a religious place, right? And you go in there and you give tithing to that. And you might have to ask yourself, or it's just a spiritual place. It doesn't just have to be there. And you have to ask yourself, what are you tithing to? It is this what tithing is. So you have all of this stuff to start with, honestly. And just wanted to toss that in there for you. Start that and then work into embodying it.
And you will continue to place effort where only alignment was ever needed. I learned this not by theory, but by necessity. I learned this law when everything I touched in the material seemed to dry up. I gave, I prayed, I planned, but nothing flowed, because I still believed, deep down, that wealth came from work alone. I had not yet made the substitution from man's economy to God's. I still feared that my good was earned, not given, that it was limited, not infinite, that I had to chase it rather than allow it. But the law of prosperity does not respond to toil. It responds to truth. It does not need your exhaustion. It needs your agreement, and agreement is established through speech. So I began to say it daily, hourly, like breath. Money comes to me now, under grace, in perfect ways. I said it when I was owed and not paid. I said it when bills lined the table like soldiers. I said it when my feelings fought back with sarcasm and fear. I said it not because I felt prosperous, but because I knew that law does not follow emotion. It follows word. And every time I said it, I was shifting bank accounts in the invisible. I was drawing substance from the unseen into alignment with the seen. I was cashing spiritual checks long before the envelope arrived. Because in divine law, money does not appear by effort, it appears by order. And order is spoken, not strained. It was then I understood the hidden arrogance of financial anxiety. To worry about money is to assume that your effort is the only source. To panic over bills is to forget that your source is infinite. To bow to appearance is to insult supply. And so I repented, not in shame, but in clarity. I laid down the belief that I was my own provider. I canceled the subconscious religion of hustle. I stepped out of the cult of overwork and into the sanctuary of spoken wealth. And the results did not trickle, they rushed. Ideas came, gifts flowed, delayed payments released, unexpected channels opened. Not because I earned it, but because I aligned, because I allowed, because I finally believed that what God has for me cannot be blocked by man, delayed by numbers, or denied by time. If you are to rise, you must install this law deep into your vocabulary. Wealth is not earned, it is claimed. Speak it when you feel unworthy. Speak it when they question you. Speak it when the digits say otherwise, for the digits are not your source, God is. Divine substance is, and it does not run dry. It does not flinch. It does not ask for resumes. It listens for rhythm. It listens for covenant speech. It listens for the voice that says, I am ready now, not because I've done enough, but because I finally remember the truth. I was never supposed to toil for my treasure. I was only supposed to speak it into motion. This is the law of prosperity. To see money not as master, but as messenger. To see increase not as a test, but as a default. to live as one who knows, with every cell, that the vaults of heaven are voice-activated, and that every declaration you make in truth is a withdrawal slip signed by the authority of Spirit. Of all the laws I ever came to know, the law of command was the one that most swiftly turned the tide, not because it was louder, but because it was final. It is the law that does not ask, does not beg, does not wait, and does not negotiate. It decrees, it declares, it speaks, and so it is. This is the law that separates the spiritual child from the spiritual heir. It separates the one who hopes from the one who knows. And until you learn to speak, not wish, not affirm, but command, you will remain at the mercy of appearance, the slave of circumstance, the beggar in a kingdom you were born to govern. You must remember what I came to remember. Heaven does not respond to emotion. It responds to dominion. And dominion is always vocal. Dominion has a voice. Dominion walks into a room and says, "Let there be," even when there is nothing but void and chaos. Dominion stands in the middle of lack and says, "Supply, come forth." Dominion knows that silence is agreement with appearances, but speech is alignment with law. The law of command changed everything for me the moment I stopped narrating my fears and started legislating my faith. There is a difference. Most people think they're praying when they're only panicking. They think they're declaring when they're only describing. But the law is not moved by description, it is moved by decree. And so, I began to speak to everything as if it could hear me, because in the spiritual realm, it can. I spoke to money, I spoke to clients, I spoke to checks. I spoke to invisible streams of income as if they were standing before me, waiting for instruction. And I did not ask them to come. I commanded them. I said, "I now command all riches ordained for me to appear swiftly by divine law and without delay." I said it with my back straight, my heart lifted, my eyes focused, not on what I had, but on what I had already claimed in the Spirit. It was then that I realized I was not waiting for money. Money was waiting for me to speak, waiting for me to give it a job, a direction, a command. You see, money is not your master, it is your servant. And like any servant, it responds only to clear, bold, unapologetic instruction. If you speak with doubt, it hesitates. If you speak with confusion, it scatters. If you speak with guilt, it avoids you. But if you speak with clarity, if you speak with conviction, if you speak as one who knows that divine supply is not a reward but a right, then it comes, and it comes quickly, for you have activated the law. So I ask you now, when was the last time you commanded? When was the last time you stopped asking for what you already have, and instead announced it with divine confidence? When was the last time you looked your bills in the face and said, "I do not answer to numbers, numbers answer to me"? That is not arrogance, that is alignment. That is spiritual law in motion. That is faith speaking its native tongue. And the universe listens closely when a child of God remembers how to speak. The law of command is not something you use once. It is something you become. You become the decree. You become the instruction. You become the authority. And when you walk in that voice, when you stop softening your words to make others comfortable, when you stop apologizing for what you're calling in, when you speak like one who cannot be denied, your world begins to obey. Because the world was made by word, and it still responds to it. So today, speak as one who commands. Speak not with noise, but with knowing. Speak not from fear, but from fullness. Speak not to convince the world, but to announce to it what has already been declared in heaven. For when you speak with spiritual command, you are no longer a victim of delay. You are the voice that opens vaults. There is a cruel illusion that haunts those who walk the spiritual path but do not yet trust the rhythm of heaven. It is the illusion of delay. It whispers, "You're late." It taunts, "You missed it." It chants, "Everyone else got there before you." And if you do not know the law of divine right timing, that illusion will sabotage your spirit, strangle your faith, and make you doubt what is already en route. But let me speak plainly. Delay is not divine. Delay is disobedience to spiritual truth. Delay is not the nature of spirit. Divine order is. Divine rhythm is. Divine timing is not sluggish, it is precise. And once I understood this law, I stopped treating time like a tyrant and started treating it like a servant. I stopped waiting and I started walking. I stopped begging the clock and started declaring the moment. Because the law of divine right timing does not mean waiting for the world to align. It means aligning your voice so that the world must follow. You see, the minute you speak your word, the machinery of heaven moves. The invisible gears turn. The delivery system of spirit is activated. But if you begin to speak fear before your manifestation arrives, you cancel the order. You interrupt the process. You declare to the heavens that you do not believe the law is working. And so I had to learn to hold my peace in the hallway. I had to learn to say, what is mine cannot be late, even when everything around me suggested otherwise. I had to stop measuring truth by time and start measuring time by truth, because time is not your ruler, it is your canvas, and what you paint on it with your words becomes your experience of it. I remember seasons where nothing seemed to move, where the check didn't arrive, where the opportunity didn't open, where the evidence said no, but I refused to change my confession. I kept saying, my harvest is on schedule. I said it when people asked, are you sure this is working? I said it when others passed me by. I said it when my emotions threatened to drag me into impatience, because I knew, deep in my bones, that divine timing is never early, never late, and never wrong. It is always exact. It is always efficient. It is always calibrated to the highest good. And most importantly, it responds to the spoken word, not the anxious heart. The law of divine right timing taught me to speak as if what I had asked for was already walking toward me, to prepare the table, to open the envelope, to celebrate before the door opened, because faith does not wait for signs, it gives them. Faith does not require evidence, it creates it. And when you walk by this law, you begin to move through the world with a different rhythm. You are no longer frantic. You are no longer comparing.
We live in a patriarchal, capitalistic society. I don't know how much I have to say that. Now we got to understand the laws of making it out here. Because these things that we've been told, these things that we've been taught, these rules of love and all this shit that we've been going by, it ain't working for none of us. Those of us that's conscious and aware and in tune enough to realize this shit ain't working. So what does work? We have to go with what's working. What do we really live in? How do we manifest? What is the real spiritual practice in a patriarchal capitalistic society? What is true? How do we truly understand that dollar bill, that $100 bill? How do we get to it multiplied? Because we're not stupid. We're not dumb. We can see. Our spiritual eye can see. Look at who makes it at the top. Look at how they win. Look at the game that they play. Look at the money that they got. We see it. So we have to crack the creator's code to get to it. Because how are people with money, the people who create these grants and foundations, grants unlimited? Have you ever looked up grants? I'm talking about grants that you can have for whatever you are doing, okay? I don't care if it's art supplies. There's grants for that. Who's creating this stuff to give this money to us? People have to have this money in order to give it, right? So how are these people evil? What about the people who's giving people money to live? It's give or take with that too. You know, hey, you get money and then they help you get a job and then you have to pay them back for getting the job, for them helping you get a job. We understand, but we have to understand, how does this patriarchal capitalistic society work? And how do we make it in it? This is the mentality I want us all to come from when you come to this channel here. All right? All right.
You are no longer postponing your peace. Instead, you live in the knowing that your life is unfolding on schedule, not by fate, but by decree, not by circumstance, but by covenant. Say this now: what is mine is on time. What is mine is arriving now. What is mine cannot be delayed, because divine law has already released it. Let that be the rhythm of your days. Let that be the drumbeat beneath your breath. And when doubt tries to whisper its deadlines, you look it in the face and say, "You are not my clock. Spirit is, and Spirit is never late." The law of divine right timing is not a passive waiting room. It is an active agreement with the eternal now. It is a declaration that says, "Because I have spoken it, the time is now holy, and the hour is already delivering." So never again will you speak delay. Never again will you say, "Maybe next year." Never again will you defer your dominion to a future moment. Because the moment you speak in alignment with divine law, time bows, doors open, angels move, supply obeys, and you no longer wait in fear, you walk in faith. This law, this final and foundational law, is the secret many skip, yet it is the soil in which every other law takes root. It is the law of identity, and it asks you not what you want, but who you are. For every spoken word, every financial declaration, every divine command, if not rooted in the soil of your self-concept, will struggle to bloom. This is the law that does not wait for outward proof, because it knows the outer is only ever an echo of the inner. Until you become wealth in your consciousness, the world will not mirror it in your accounts. Until you see yourself as chosen, equipped, crowned by divine law to circulate abundance, you will continue to speak prosperity while identifying with poverty, and law cannot override identity. It must emerge from it. And so I say to you, with the full authority of spiritual law, you do not get wealth. You become it. You do not attract money from the outside in. You express wealth from the inside out. You do not climb into prosperity. You remember that it was always yours, and the moment you stop identifying with the struggler, the hustler, the underdog, the one who barely makes it, the moment you renounce that false lineage and step into the truth of who you are, the world changes its response, because the world can only ever respond to your self-concept. It cannot out-deliver your image. It cannot manifest beyond your definition. The law of identity is precise. It does not ask, "What do you hope for?" It demands, "Who do you think you are?" And I began to rise the day I stopped asking for more money and started saying, "I am the wealth of God made visible." It was a shocking confession at first. My circumstances laughed. My bank account protested. My family recoiled, but I kept saying it. I am the wealth of God made visible. And slowly, the shadows began to flee. Not because I argued with them, but because I refused to identify with them. I stopped dressing like lack. I stopped walking like scarcity. I stopped agreeing with the version of myself who had been handed down through fear, through trauma, through ancestral apology. And I stepped into a new vibration, not just in word, but in walk, in breath, in posture, in pace. I declared not only prosperity, but identity. I became the new lineage. And once you become the new lineage in spirit, the world must yield. It must rearrange. It must make room. You cannot be both the victim and the vessel. You cannot speak abundance while seeing yourself as one who is still trying to earn a seat at the table. You are the table. You are the vault. You are the law made flesh when you remember your name. And your name is not barely getting by. Your name is not the one who tries hard. Your name is divinely funded, permanently prosperous, heir of spiritual dominion. That is who you are. And until your identity matches your declaration, your world will hesitate. but once they align, wealth has no choice. It appears, not as a gift, but as a mirror. So say it now, with no apology and no delay. I am the wealth of God made visible, not because you have it yet, but because you are it now. Because identity precedes evidence. Because the law does not wait for you to earn it. It waits for you to own it. And once you own it, once you wear the garment that always fit, once you stop renting the image of success and start inhabiting the truth of abundance, then money becomes a servant, not a savior. Then riches become rhythm, not rescue. Then wealth becomes what it was always meant to be, your natural extension, not your desperate prayer. This is the law of identity, and it does not ask the world to change. It asks you to remember who you are and to speak from there, walk from there, command from there. For when you speak as wealth, the world becomes rich in your reflection. Before any external change can anchor itself in your life, the inner voice, the silent narrator of your every decision, must be rewritten, sanctified, and surrendered to truth. And let me tell you plainly, the reason most people never experience the laws they study is because the volume of their inner inheritance is louder than the rhythm of divine instruction.
So before we continue that, I want to jump in real quick and give y'all a video on the 3 laws of capitalism. It's a small video. It's 5 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and play this next. I want to claim for fair use. And just go ahead and maybe write these down for yourself. But go ahead, we're going to go ahead and get into the 3 laws of capitalism out of my own curiosity to add into our notes sidebar. And this will help us. Because what we're going to walk into from this, guys, from, the creator's code and the frequency of money and the frequency of the wealth frequency, we're going to get into love. I'm sure you all knew that. We're going to really get into what is love? What is self-love? What way is relationship supposed to be had in this capitalistic patriarchal society? What's being done wrong? I don't like to use that word, but what's not in proper divine alignment when it comes to love, and especially the love of loving somebody else, but understanding truly what it is. And how do you love in a patriarchal capitalistic society, as well as how do you have friends in a patriarchal capitalistic society? So we're going to walk into all of that as well. So just let y'all know where everything is taking all the steps to as we go through these creator code lessons. So let's go ahead and listen to this, fair use.
Talk about anything about money.
Millennial money mindset.
Without starting off with Adam Smith.
Money mindset.
We're going to talk about Adam Smith. So you can't talk about anything about money without starting off with Adam Smith. Adam Smith's the grandfather of all economics. So he first wrote about the wealth in his book called The Wealth of Nations. It's essentially what our modern capitalist system is built around. Adam Smith and his kind of ideas and his concepts.
Right.
So the 3 things that Adam Smith talks about in his Wealth of Nations is demand and supply, division of labour, and the invisible hand. Adam Smith, demand and supply. So I used to trade
Demand and supply.
gas, and gas is very derived by demand and supply. So the price is set depending on how many people want that product and the supply of that product, how much product is available in the market. So things like gas supply. So in winter months, it's much more people demand that the product that is gas. Okay, more people. It's much colder, so people turn the heating on, and then that demand. Everyone in the UK does that, so the demand goes up. The supply is often fixed because there's only a fixed amount of gas that can be produced every year. So the winter months, things tend to get more expensive in the gas market because there's a high demand and the same amount of supply. So Adams talks about in this capitalist system that basically everything's arrived. The market dictates what the price is of that thing, and that price is derived by demand and supply. The next thing he talks about is division of labour. So he talks about there's a pin factory that he talks about in Edinburgh, and he basically said that one person, it would take, say, it's much more efficient for have a team of people working together to produce, each has a specialist task, rather than one person doing every little bit of task, because that one person might have to go pick up different types of tools, they might have to go to the other side of the workshop to create this little pin, whereas if you have like a conveyor belt, that each person has hammering or one person soldering, the other person kind of putting things together, it's much more efficient. I think it's like 50 pins can be created compared to one pin if one person does it. So it's doing this kind of division of labour increases productivity much more. And we see it today where everyone has their kind of niche kind of market, specialist kind of jobs that people do, and it makes it much more efficient. And he says to people, because it's more efficient for people to do it, the invisible hand is basically things get moved around. The economy gets moved by what he calls the invisible hand. So like a business cycle, so the ups and downs of the market happens because of the invisible hand. So he says that.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and subscribe to this person. Their audio is horrible. Okay, jeez. There was something I did see because I did look up something. This is the laws of capitalism, and I kept it up. How capitalism conquered the world. That's a show for itself. I try to work with people who come from that work in the wealth frequency. Because I don't want people who do the doom and gloom. What is the rule of law? All about capitalism. Okay, hold on, y'all. So let's kind of check this one out. Because I saw something else we're going to watch next.
What is the rule of law?
Okay, I found
Have you ever wondered why some societies thrive while others struggle? A big part of that answer lies in a concept called the rule of law. So, what exactly is the rule of law? At its core, the rule of law means that everyone, including leaders and institutions, must follow the same laws. This principle ensures that no one is above the law, creating a fair and equal legal environment for all. The rule of law prevents arbitrary use of power, meaning decisions are made based on established laws rather than personal whims. It promotes stability and clarity in legal frameworks, which is essential for any society. When laws are clear and accessible, people can understand their rights and responsibilities. This clarity helps protect citizens and maintain a predictable legal environment. Historically, the idea of the rule of law dates back to ancient philosophers like Aristotle, who argued that laws should govern society, not individuals. During the 16th and 17th centuries, thinkers like John Locke emphasized the importance of laws in opposing the arbitrary rule of monarchs. This evolution of thought laid the groundwork for modern legal systems. In the context of capitalism, the rule of law is vital. Capitalism thrives on a legal framework that clearly defines and protects property rights. When people know their property rights are secure, they are more likely to invest, innovate, and engage in economic activities. Without the rule of law, uncertainty creeps in, making markets less efficient and more risky. Supply-side economics also benefits from the rule of law. This economic theory argues that lower taxes and less regulation can stimulate production. However, for businesses to thrive under this model, they need a legal environment where contracts are enforceable and regulations are consistent. This predictability encourages investment and entrepreneurship, driving economic growth. Max Weber, a notable sociologist, highlighted the importance of legal rationality in capitalist markets. He argued that laws should be logically structured and consistently applied. This consistency is essential for creating a trustworthy environment where businesses can operate effectively. In practical terms, a strong rule of law in a capitalist system means several things. First, laws must protect private property and enforce contracts. Second, legal systems should be impartial and free from corruption. Third, government power must be limited by law to prevent arbitrary decisions. Lastly, individuals and businesses need to have confidence that their legal rights will be upheld. This legal environment is crucial for capitalism to flourish. It reduces risks and transaction costs.
A strong rule of law includes protecting private property, impartial legal systems, and limited government power. Confidence in legal rights encourage participation in the economy, leading to growth and prosperity. Confidence in legal rights encourages participation. The rule of law underpins capitalism by holding everyone accountable and supporting fair economic practices. Is it really that
allowing economic actors to plan and engage in market activities with assurance? When people feel secure in their rights, they are more likely to participate in the economy, leading to growth and prosperity. So, the rule of law is not just a legal concept. It is a fundamental principle that supports the very foundation of capitalism. It ensures that everyone is held accountable, property rights are protected, and economic activities can thrive. Understanding the rule of law helps us appreciate how societies can achieve stability and growth through fair legal practices.
All right, we get to that shit another day. Let's go ahead and, how far are we on this one? Kind of really heard that already, so let's go ahead and take it here. So that kind of like, I have to sit down with that way. Okay, this one is 35 minutes. We're going to go ahead and play the 48 Laws of Power, the secret manual of millionaires, and how to use it to your advantage. And then after that, we are going to play the 48 Laws of Monty. Yes, indeed. All right, so let's go. This is 35. Let's go.
Darling, have you ever wondered why some women sign prenups while others...
Matter of fact, we are past 2 hours. You already know how I feel once I hit past 2 hours. We are going to continue money frequency talk. I'm going to close this down. I'll be back in 2 minutes.